It has attacked her family.
It picked out Sean. It killed your father.
And haunted her dreams.
When it killed Sean, I knew with absolute certainty it had come for him.
Now, there is one last battle to be fought.
We're heading straight for it. He's gonna hit us!
Lorraine Gary and Michael Caine. Jaws, The Revenge. This time, it's personal. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
That's one of my favorite lines in John Leguizamo's Freak, his one-man show.
Yeah.
He's talking about how his dad would like throw a little bit of it was his grandma would throw like liquor, like a little bit of liquor on them, and they'd be like, it burns. He'd be like, that's because you're wicked. And then later his dad's shaving and he throws the aftershave in their eyes. They're like, he's like, that's because you're wicked.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Well, that's a great show. Great performance.
Was that his first one?
No, that was his last one.
Because he did like 4 for HBO, right?
He did Spicorama, which was actually kind of an HBO like pilot for him doing a sketch comedy show.
Yeah.
And because it was like really sketch heavy and character heavy.
Yeah.
He was like doing all kinds of different characters. And then he did Sexaholics Anonymous.
That's okay. Yeah.
And then he did Freak.
Okay.
So he did those 3. Freak was directed by Spike Lee.
I think I remember that. Yeah. Or knew that, I guess I would say. I do know some things.
Do you?
Occasionally.
Catch me later on that one.
I'll catch you outside. How about that?
So, oh God. So it has been quite the last few weeks for me.
Yeah, I would say so.
I had a long filming session, very long. We ended up going about an hour 10 over because there was no other choice.
Yeah. Did you guys go 10 to 10? Well, originally that was the plan.
Yeah, we went 10 to about, actually we didn't go quite that long. We went to 10 to about 11:15.
I thought you were going to say you went 10 to midnight.
No, thank God we didn't, because I was like about to die. I had tweaked my back for the second time in my whole life. Tweaked my back where it hurt for days.
Oh shit.
And ironically, the first time was when I was filming a ton of stuff, and it hurt a ton.
Didn't you injured yourself back-wise on a production that I was on?
It was Babysitter 2.
It was a Babysitter 2? Okay.
It was on when we were shooting the key characters in that.
It feels like it was longer than that, but I guess
that was a while ago.
It was a while ago.
And no, that was really bad. But I was able to take pain medicine.
Yeah.
Which I can't take pain medicine during the day now without skipping the other medicine that I need. And I'd much rather have that. Although
that's
I
fair.
Might feel different after how Sunday went. So I was powering through the back pain, and I've never powering. I know you have bad back, so you throw out your back every now and then.
Yep.
And I'm not used to that kind of pain. I've always had a pretty strong back.
Yeah.
I do believe it's from you get taught through cruelty in orchestra to sit up straight.
I could see that. And I've heard friends say the same thing, actually.
Well, they don't just yell at you to sit up straight. They also teach you habits to help you sit up straight. Because I remember when we first started doing this podcast, I would keep telling you to stop slouching. And then I realized that literally anytime I sit anywhere, like right now, my back is perfectly straight. It's just, I sit up straight. I just do. I mean, it's different if you're on a recliner or on a couch or something. But I mean, if I sit down in a chair, I sit up straight.
Yeah.
There's just, that's all there is to it. But so I was powering through it, to the point where I was feeling it. I would go up the stairs and I would be in so much pain. I was feeling it at my fingertips and, and seeing spots. I don't recommend it.
But not.
But it's almost over because now I'm in the post-production thing. And this is one of the few breaks I get from it is to record the show. And, but because of that, there's a reason I'm bringing this up, and it's not just a bitch. I have been trying to find ways to unwind because I've been on this intense post-production and pre-production schedule.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, my days are 12 to 14 hours. It's just average right now. So I need something to unwind. So I started watching. I've always had, soft spot for the 90s thrillers and weird stuff from the 90s.
You and I have that affinity, yes.
And but unlike you, I was watching a lot of them as they were airing, which is the crazy thing.
I had to find them via secondhand VHSs or back in the day when YouTube was newish. I remember I found some on there too.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because a lot of these aren't available anywhere.
Yeah.
But I started watching old Joe Bob's Drive-In episodes, which featured some of the weirdest late night cable movies
I can imagine
you could ever find. And I have a giant list of them. And what I've been doing is picking them based solely on title and year.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
Some of them I recognize, but most I do not.
Yeah. So
I started writing down the ones I watch because I'm watching 4 a week or 5 a week, depending. So I was like, I won't be able to bring these to you. But I made no other notes.
There you go.
Because I don't believe in it because I'm not some letterbox cuck,
That's what it is.
Letterbox cuck. I'm remembering that. That's the next t-shirt.
That's not original. I've heard that before.
Well, I haven't, so I'm a genius.
Well, that's fair.
So, since I started writing these down, I've watched Liar's Edge, which features David Keith.
Okay.
And it's a thriller about a kid who's 16, 17 years old, who basically they show him trying to escape a mental hospital and almost killing himself.
Yeah.
And then he ends up going home to his mom, played by Shannon Tweed, who takes her clothes off never. Very surprising for a 90s film. It was from, I didn't write down the year on this one. I think it was 93 or 92. But it turns out that the boyfriend, the stepdad is some kind of a criminal. And then it turns out a woman's been murdered and nobody believes the son because he's a mental patient formerly. It was pretty fun. It takes place in the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. So Madame Tussauds Wax Museum is in it.
That's awesome.
Then the next night, I watched Animal Instinct with Shannon Worry. For those who don't know who Shannon Worry is, she was the queen of erotic thrillers for a very long time. And this one, it was a thriller about a husband and wife who discover that their favorite thing is him filming her having interludes with people. So she becomes basically a prostitute, but for him to film her in secret. She knows and he knows, but the people that come in don't know.
Yeah.
But it gets, crazy. David Carradine is in it and nobody dies in it. It was very weird. And of all the ones I've watched so far, this one had the longest love scenes. It was very drawn out, very much more on the erotic side than the thriller side.
Yeah.
And not all these are erotic thrillers. They tend to be. Then I watched a movie I'd never heard of at all that I really enjoyed called Dark Tide from 1994. It had, I can't believe how much I'm remembering about them. I literally, so what I do is, the reason these are relaxing is I sit down, it's usually at about midnight or 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I put these on and once I choose it and hit play, it's not allowed to be skipped.
Dumped, yeah.
There's no trash. You watch it all the way through, all you have is this channel to watch. And, I'll pause it to go to the bathroom and I usually have a cigar and I watch whatever is coming my way. Dark Tide with Chris Sarandon. It's about a guy who's living in the main character is his girlfriend in it. And she has come to be with his wife. They newlyweds.
Yeah.
And they're living on this island community where he's making crazy money by milking sea snakes and selling their venom for a ton of money.
Interesting.
And on the island, everything's really cheap. So they get $5,000 per ounce of sea snake venom. So they're making stupid money, but she encounters, one of the locals. Oh, it's going to drive me crazy. The actor who I, in my opinion, became forever known for Big Bad Wolf. I can't remember that guy's name. Something Murphy, maybe? Oh, I can't believe you don't know that guy.
I know Big Bad Wolf, but I can't think of the name.
You're very hurtful. It's a very hurtful thing you've done. Richard Tyson.
Yep, I would not have got that.
You don't know Richard Tyson?
I bet I do. I just probably don't know the name.
Well, he's the star of Big Bad Wolf. He plays the dad.
Oh, that guy.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I know him from Kindergarten Cop. My apologies.
I thought you liked movies, but I was mistaken as usual.
Go to hell.
But he ends up becoming obsessed with her, and they try to like kill the husband. They do all this crazy stuff. But the third act goes from like this island kind of mystery thriller to just full-blown Straw Dogs. These island guys, all run by Richard Tyson, want to break into their mansion and kill the husband and probably kill the woman too. But he's in love with her, but it's some psycho thing. There are a lot of weird flourishes in it. At one point, he takes her to the caves of the snake, which is like the island religious place, and introduces her to his aunt, and his aunt's like blind and looks like she's straight out of Evil Dead 2. Really weird movie, really fun. And when it ended, I just went, God damn, how have I not heard of that one? And of these, Liar's Edge and Dark Tide, I don't think I could rent them anywhere.
Oh, I'm not
like
surprised.
they were not available at all.
Yeah.
Animal Instinct was. Then the next night, I watched what was probably the most. Oh, and by the way, when I was watching Dark Tide, I'm almost certain I saw it on cable when I was younger because I didn't remember big parts of it, but the whole part where they were setting everything up and getting snake venom and talking about it,
that came back to you.
I really remembered it.
Yeah.
So then I watched Night Rhythms from 1992.
That's a title.
You can rent this one. It's out there, but this is like the quintessential erotic thriller. There's a radio host who he does a talk show where he just like gets women all hot and bothered. And
I think I've seen either I've seen bits and pieces of it or I've actually seen it.
You would remember if you'd seen it.
Carradine's in this, right?
Yeah, he's in a lot of those.
Okay.
So basically, it's the perfect example of an erotic thriller of that era because there's this guy who's like kind of attractive, and basically like his shoelace comes untied, he trips and falls into having sex with two women at the same time. Like every scene, it's like, I have to figure out who killed this woman that I was sleeping with when I went unconscious and woke up and she was dead. So then he like he's like, I have to find this person. He finds the witness. It's a beautiful woman. They sleep together. Then he goes to the next place. It's two beautiful women. They sleep together. It's nonstop. It has a pretty good but obvious twist at the end, but it was very much that era.
I love the director's name, Gregory Dark.
He did a ton of them. He did Animal Instincts as well.
Okay.
And then See No Evil.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's and also some Breaking Benjamin videos is how I know him too.
Mm-hmm. Well, so then last night I watched one that I would say was probably the biggest surprise.
Okay.
It was called Prey of the Chameleon. Prey, like Prey.
Okay.
Prey of the Chameleon. This woman escapes from a mental hospital, and she basically murders someone and takes their identity. But it turns out that what she does is she meets someone, makes them her next victim, and then believes she is them for a period of time.
That's cool.
But the way that she keeps that going is when she switches identities, she dresses the person that she just killed up as the person she was pretending to be and dumps their body.
Doesn't Angel Eyes do that at a couple points? Yeah.
That's more disguises.
It's more disguise.
This is more like a version of split personality that's like really, really nuts. So she's going across the country doing this, like dumping bodies and just totally transforming herself. Meets this guy who we met early on, who is from the small town in Texas. He went away, left his girlfriend. She was all mad. He comes back home. Now she's the chief or the sheriff or the deputy sheriff.
Yeah.
And she ends up trying to be the only person who believes he's not going on this crime spree because he doesn't know that this woman's a psycho. And then she steals his identity briefly. It goes really crazy.
Sounds nuts.
It's really fun. I don't think that one's available anywhere.
Okay.
And it starred an actress that has been in a ton of stuff. And now I'm trying to remember. It was her name was Daphne Zunga.
Oh, the chick from she's in Spaceball. She's in the Initiation.
She is Zuniga.
Yeah,
Zuniga. She plays the psycho, the chameleon.
Oh, she's
chick.
good at that then.
She's really, really good. It's a good one. And one thing I've learned, because I grew up watching Monster Vision, not Joe Bob's Drive-In. Joe Bob opens and he'll tell you if it's a bad movie. Like he'll tell you, like, there were a couple I watched, none of these that I started listing, but he was like, this is just a bad film. He would literally say, like, if you have something else to be doing, do it. You know, why not go do a load of laundry, come back at the end? Like he would say stuff like that.
That sounds like something to say.
But when it was good, he would say, like, this is a really good one. You'll like it. And usually when he says that, I'm always shocked by how good
It is.
Yeah, these, and especially because most of these are like severely unknown.
That's awesome. Oh yeah, she's in Dorm the Drip Blood. She's I think like the first body.
I think so.
Because she's the one that gets put into the incinerator, if I'm not mistaken. Or she gets murdered. I can't remember which.
But yeah, I thought it'd be fun. I started writing them down so I wouldn't. I'm surprised how much I remember about them, although I'm not at the same time.
I also dove into erotic thriller because I've been doing those Skin Max DVDs that I got on my birthday from MVD, put out a bunch of them. So there's like 20 titles. But the one I watched was Snapdragon from 1992, Pam Anderson's film debut.
Wow.
One thing I want to say, so the synopsis on IMDb says two men have already been killed during intercourse by a prostitute. The young Sergeant Peckham is transferred from Vice to Homicide Squad for the investigation. Basically, the story is that there's somebody that is slitting guys' throats, and they're usually with this last call girl, like before their death.
Okay.
And the opening of this film, could not believe this. First 5 minutes of this film, we see a girl who's supposed to be young Pam Anderson in a tent, sleeping with her parents. These people break in, kill her parents right in front of her, kidnap her, sell her into Chinese sex slavery. She is then being shown getting tattooed by a woman who says, "You're going to be the best ever." And then it goes into this celebration parade and over the credits with Snapdragon.
Anything memorable in it, though?
So, movie's fine. Like, it's okay. It's not bad. I've seen a lot worse. I've seen a lot better. My favorite thing is Stephen Bauer is one of the actors in this. He is Scarface, Tony Montana's main partner in Scarface, and he plays the main detective. At the very beginning, his girlfriend is Chelsea Field in the movie, and they're in bed, and she gives him a hickey, and he goes, "Oh my God, you gave me a hickey. Now I'm going to have to wear sweaters the whole week." From that moment on, anytime he's in this movie, he is rocking a new sweater.
I bet you there was a reason.
He committed to the bit. That's all I'm saying.
I'm saying, or like they shot most of it when it was cold or something.
Yeah. No, but it was,
funny.
I was like, I took note of that and I was just like, oh my God, he's in a different sweater every time you see him basically after.
Guy's got style. So
sweater game strong.
But it's been a very amusing thing, and it's been really fun to wholly dedicate even when the movies are bad.
Yeah.
I watched a couple of dogs.
Yeah.
And even like Animal Instinct, it got kind of boring. Although Shannon Worry is an incredible actress, and she's like, she was built for these movies. She's literally got Girl Next Door face and an insanely like full-blown Penthouse Pet body. I mean, like 90s, like just ridiculous body.
Yeah.
You know, tiny body, big waist, big breasts. Like completely like built for this. And apparently she was in like 50 of these.
Not
like,
surprised.
She was very, very well cast over and over. And there are 2 more Animal Instinct movies.
Of course there are.
Oh, I also watched one I honorable mention called Hollywood Dreams, which was a comedy about guys making a sleazy movie, a sleazy, like a raunchy comedy.
Yeah.
And everybody's just banging each other the whole way through it. But it had a really cute ending. And I think that was directed by Gregory Tark too, actually, but I wouldn't be shocked. But that one was really cute. I thought that one was really fun because it ends with the lead actress of the movie who wasn't very good. I mean, in the actual movie, it wasn't very good. And in the movie, she wasn't very good. Running away with the assistant director guy. Yep. And they decide they're going to go back to Boise where she's from. And her brother works at a radio station and this guy's dream is to be a DJ. She's like, who knows what we could make happen if we go after our own dreams instead of making everybody else's dreams come true. And I was like, that's a sweet ending.
It is cute.
It is. So
the other one I watched was Bare Exposure, which was basically about a guy that was in deep with some loan sharks and he was friends with all these females and they were trying to get a new roommate because the roommate females. The roommate comes home and she's catches the other roommate having sex and she's like, you're always having sex. I'm moving out. And like, that was basically what happened. But the rest of the movie was them trying to put on a wet t-shirt show contest show to earn money to get him away from the loan sharks.
Of course.
and then they did. It was a happy ending.
These are fascinating. So, but yeah, it's been nice to just sit down and have to watch it. I put my phone away.
Yeah.
I occasionally get tempted to just for a second see like who the director is and stuff because I love to know that stuff. But overall, I've just been watching these like movies that are either painfully dumb or shockingly good. Like I can see why they were successful on cable.
With Joe Bob hosting them, he starts it and he ends it. You're watching the whole movie straight way through. There's no him interrupting right now.
No, he's like, and I'll be back afterward. And sometimes he doesn't come back afterward. So, but then the other thing I want to mention was when he showed Prey of the Chameleon, his outro, he actually said like, and that was the cable premiere of it. So it was actually the first time it ever aired at like 11 o'clock at night on the movie channel.
You said he showed like 160 episodes of that or whatever?
It was probably more.
More? Okay.
I mean, he would sometimes host 3 in a night.
Yeah.
Starting at like, I think he started at like 10 p.m.
That's nuts.
So there'd be a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna dig more, and I'm sure everybody's riveted to know about these movies that nobody cares about, but I care about them.
Hey, I got 18 more to go, and I'm watching them in the order they were released. So I have to jump around a lot.
I bet. Yeah, I'm mostly leaning towards anything 90s.
Yeah.
And there's also, I mean, there's action movies, there's all kinds of stuff. And like Dark Tide, I had no idea what I was walking into. And it's pretty much an erotic thriller, but
say the next one is Illicit Behavior is my next one.
Oh, I've seen
with
that one.
Shannon Tweed.
Oh yeah. Well, Tweed was like the queen of those. And I always forgot her sister is in these movies too, because I forget her sister's name, but she's in Night Rhythms.
Tracy Tweed.
Tracy Tweed. But she was in Night Rhythms. Because when I saw her, I was like, why does she look so familiar? And then I looked up, I was like, Tweed. And I looked up, they have like, because they did like a photo spread together.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so stupid movies that I love. There's nothing I like more than something that's forgotten or meant to be forgotten.
Yeah.
When things are, because it's like when you look at Roger Corman's career, like Little Shop of Horrors. Everybody remembers Little Shop of Horrors. Everybody's fond of it. They didn't even bother renewing the copyright on it.
No.
Because they were like, well, it's done. It played for like 2 months at the drive-ins, and then it played, over here and over there. That's it.
Yeah.
And everyone, recalls it. Like, so I'm fascinated by these, especially when they're just not available anywhere. And most of them, I mean, nowadays, most of them are somewhere.
Somewhat available, yeah.
But then you'll find one where it'll be like, oh, there's just a VHS, and that's it.
Well, I mean, following Fred Olin Ray on Facebook, I mean, he's been posting a lot of his movies that I've been going after since reading his book. And yeah, a lot of those are just not available.
They're hard to get. And he hasn't, I mean,
the later ones, obviously. Yeah.
Well, the late 90s was really crazy. I mean, he was making so many films. And I'm dying to read that part of his book because he's doing one that focuses more on the 90s and the 2000s.
I can't wait.
So, but with that all being said, we're doing summer films.
Yes, Life's a Beach Month.
Life's a Beach Month. And because you chose that theme, I think you are to blame for the heat wave.
I mean, that's fair.
I think that's only fair.
That's fair. Freaking, what is it, 94 degrees outside right now?
I don't know about right now, but it was 94 degrees was the high today.
It was 97 when I was driving here according to my car.
Cars are always hotter though, because they're in the middle of the sun and everything.
Yeah, true.
So, but like, yeah, it's been to immortalize the words of my great Aunt Betty. It's hotter than 2 foxes fucking in a forest fire out there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that.
So, So, and it is, it's real hot. That's one thing I'm happy about is even with all the pain when I was filming, we filmed the whole day in an air-conditioned mansion.
Yeah.
Very well air-conditioned mansion. That's why I knew the pain was what was making me sweat, because I was like, it was actually kind of chilly.
Because Calamity Jane was the hottest we shot in, right? Because that was the one I remember where we were very, very careful.
Prolonged. Yeah. Because the other Western, Jesse James Unchained, was also really, really hot.
That's right. Yeah.
And, but no, with Jane, I mean, we had
cold packs.
We had cold, their rags basically to put on your neck and tons of water. But of course, the people in the cowboy costumes, they can't use that stuff.
No.
They just got to figure it out.
They lived.
In theory. but no, so it's definitely feeling summer now.
It is indeed.
As we're melting.
Yes.
I'm excited for this heat wave to end.
God, me too.
So.
Me too.
Well, your apartment gets pretty warm, right?
Gets pretty warm. And from what I looked at, we're basically going from extreme heat to extreme wetness because it's going to be raining for like 4 days straight for what they're calling right now.
Well, we had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Of basically rain almost every day.
But now the grass is probably going to like die a lot because
God, I hope so.
with all of this and then the rain.
No, I hope so. I mean, I mowed the lawn last Thursday.
Yeah.
Because it was finally dry enough.
Yeah.
And it was a jungle. I mean, it was really hard to mow it all. So I'm hoping the grass isn't growing very much because right now it's very dry. And they were saying it might rain today at one point, and now they're saying it might rain tomorrow. I'm thinking it might not rain till like the start of next week.
I know the heat advisory is supposed to be up tomorrow at 8. So at least we're going to go down to like 86, I think is like the high.
Oh, you hope. You wish. You wish.
But I mean, we could cool off and talk about a great sequel that you and I have an affinity for.
I mean, I wouldn't say affinity. I would say love affair.
Love affair.
I love. Oh, I decided to check the weather right now. It says feels like 100 degrees.
Yeah, I can see that.
No, I friggin' love this film.
Yeah.
And I believe it is the one true great Jaws film.
I mean, we did both agree before we went on here that it is better than Jaws 3.
I just revisited Jaws 3 in
So did
3D,
I.
and
Not in 3D, but I revisited it.
yeah. They're not we're not going below the 90s till Saturday.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and then we'll be back to 90 on Sunday.
Well, let's cool off then and talk about Jaws: The Revenge from 1987.
Probably my most notorious hot take.
Yeah.
Because I have nothing against Jaws, but I do not find the original Jaws movie as memorable as Jaws: The Revenge.
It's okay to be wrong.
Jaws: The Revenge is so unmitigatedly entertaining.
It is.
There is something to enjoy in every frame
Yeah.
of that wackadoo movie. And after rewatching 3, which I think we would all agree is not a great film
No.
on its own.
It lacks any big major points that would push it to memorable likeness, like except for the ending.
After watching it, I felt like it comes off kind of cynical. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like, here's a Jaws movie. It takes place at a SeaWorld.
Yeah.
And that could be a lot cooler. And they had a great cast. I mean, Leah Thompson's in it.
They had a great cast, but like also a lot of the kills are off screen, if not all of them.
And there aren't a lot of them anyway.
No, there's like 4 or 5, I want to say. Because like the one I really want is the 2 guys that are going after the coral. I think that would be a cool scene.
The Russian guys who are stealing stuff.
Yeah, I would think that'd be a cool scene, but we just see the boat get basically deflated, and then the guys come down and they go down. They don't come back up.
Yeah. And I mean, there's stuff to like in Jaws 3. I think a lot of the weird, like the underwater buildings and stuff are kind of cheesy because like they're not really a thing.
They're not great. Yeah. I would also say that you and I are probably split on Jaws 2 because you revisited it a while back and you weren't the biggest fan of it. You thought it was fine.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun follow-up to Jaws.
I think it's a lot of fun.
But I mean, and I think Jaws is good. I think that Jaws is a pretty standard thriller, elevated by the performances and the directing.
Yeah.
But I think that the script itself is relatively standard.
Yeah.
And that's not a dig.
No.
That's celebrating the fact that, I mean, like Quint's speech is amazing.
It's amazing.
I mean, there's tons of wonderful things about Jaws, but a lot of them really do come down to those actors and Spielberg.
Oh yeah, 100%. And also the fact that, I mean, everybody knows by now that like the shark was the biggest complication with that movie because they had to shoot around the fact it wouldn't work half the time. If not, I would say probably 3/4 of the time, because they only really got it working towards the end, because that's why it's a lot different than what it was originally supposed to be with how we saw the shark. Or how much we saw
ended
the
up
shark.
having to lean into suspense,
Yeah.
which helped it a ton.
Immensely.
And that's kind of my point, is that's why Jaws: The Revenge is so great. Their shark work, God damn it.
It did. It did indeed.
But no, there's everything about Jaws: The Revenge is so far out.
Yeah.
Such a strange situation.
It's an odd story also. I mean, given, they completely ignored the 3 entirely. So we basically go from Jaws 1, Jaws 2 to Jaws: The Revenge in the story element. But it's such an odd story that they chose to go with this 4th one. And the novel is even more wackadoo.
Well, it's the novelization.
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. I can't remember if it came first or if it,
They didn't come first.
I don't know.
But because back then novelizations were made on the first accepted screenplay.
Yeah.
So all of the stuff they cut out of Jaws: The Revenge is still in the novel.
Yeah, because I just finished the Batman 1989 novelization, and there was a whole, you remember the scene when a Joker goes to Vicky's apartment and harasses her, shoots Bruce, and then leaves?
Yeah.
Originally in the novel, he kidnaps her. Batman gets on a horseback and chases him to the center of the square where they're getting set up for the 200th festival. He takes the mayor hostage, and I can't remember how he gets defeated, but he gets defeated and they run off.
Well, okay. Okay, then.
It was interesting. That novelization was interesting.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a ridiculous movie too.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Like that's pretty far out.
Craig Shaw Gardner was the writer, and he also wrote the Lost Boys novelization along with like several other big novelizations like Back to the Future. And the one thing I'll say about having read some of his now, He's very big on the action sequences of the film itself. As far as description, there's not much. Because, I mean, that's what I love about novelizations is that extra detail and whatnot. There was only like 3 added scenes in the novelization for the Batman book.
Because, I mean, usually a movie isn't as dense as most novels would be. So you have to use every piece of material.
Yeah.
And then also add a little bit more.
Yeah.
Add a lot more detail. One of my favorite novelizations I ever read was the original Reanimator novelization,
Which just became available again like 2 years
Finally,
ago.
yeah.
2-3 years ago.
But it had like so much more about Dr. West and where he was before he got to Miskatonic and stuff like that. Another novelization I really enjoyed was Friday the 13th Part 6.
Obviously.
There was a lot going on in that novelization that wasn't in the film.
Halloween 3 has an amazing novelization.
I'd be very curious about that. I mean, and I don't doubt that it has one because that was the era of novelizations were always happening.
Well, I've read the first 3 Halloweens, and the first one alone opens with Samhain happening and like a description of all that Loomis would say in part 2. But then the novelization for part 2 also has a explanation for why the hospital's so barren, and also has the death of the reporter that was cut out of the movie. Yeah.
Okay. So with that all being said, speaking of great works of art,
indeed,
I know that a lot of people have a lot of opinions about Jaws the Revenge.
Just some.
And they're wrong. Because Jaws the Revenge is non-stop entertainment value.
Yeah.
Because every choice, the weirder they are, the more amusing they are. And for a film that should be this cynical, to have like Michael Caine in it, to have Mario Van Peebles in it, to have all these great actors who are clearly game.
Yeah.
Like they're trying.
Yeah.
Like when we were just rewatching it, like Michael Caine's romance scenes, he's going all in on them.
He is.
You know, he's trying to be legitimate because he's one of the greatest actors, you know, to ever live.
Yeah.
It is a hell of a thing.
It really is.
So if you think Jaws the Revenge sucks, I beg of you to reconsider how you watch movies.
How you view it.
Well, how you view anything.
Okay.
Because Jaws the Revenge is such a mess.
Yeah.
But I don't believe it's a mess from lack of care. It's a mess from a combination of bizarre choices.
Yes.
And studio intervention.
A lot.
Combined with said bizarre choices and a lot of the bizarre choices being removed. That's another thing. Cause like the voodoo subplot is gone. You heard me, right? But
I'll talk all about the novel. Don't worry.
There are little elements of the voodoo subplot throughout all of Jaws the Revenge.
Oh yeah.
So they make some things just make almost no sense at all.
Yeah.
But that also makes the movie even weirder.
Yeah.
Like this weird telepathic connection between the shark and the victims.
Not only the telepathy, but also they really hone in on nightmares in this movie more than any other Jaws film.
Yeah.
And some of those primarily for the scares.
Definitely. Well, and like the way some of the effects and stuff are done so messily makes me think that there was a version of this movie that was done with care.
Could be.
That the studio was like, there's not enough bite, if you will. And I will.
And you did.
So that's one of the things that also fascinates me about the movie is they'll be like, on one hand, it's like, oh, it's a quick cash grab. But also we spent out the ass for Michael Caine. They spent out the ass for, what's the actress's name?
Lorraine Gary.
Lorraine Gary, who was in the first Jaws movie. I think she was in 2
second,
as well.
Yeah. First and second.
She's the wife of Roy Scheider's character in it. So like they spent out the butt for that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Also, they set it in the Bahamas, which one of the big differences between modern shark movies and Jaws is modern shark movies are almost always in the tropics.
Yeah.
They're in much prettier places than, I'm sorry, New York and New Jersey, however you want to look at it. So in a way, it's kind of a precursor to all these shark movies that were going to come along in the late 90s, especially in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That were almost always set in an island community.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember somebody saying like, man, shark movies, you know, they must be really, this or that. That's why so many people are making them. And I was like, it's also really easy to sell and we'll all go to Hawaii for 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty easy sell at that point.
It is.
Yeah.
So Dave, you want to introduce people to our film de jour?
All right. So we dedicate this episode to our buddy Patrick, of course. Let's go ahead and just get that out of the way.
Patrick, this one's for you, homie.
1 hour and 30 minutes, rated PG-13 for shark attacks, language, and brief sensuality.
Nothing is more sensual than metalworking.
Metalworking. IMDb synopsis says, Chief Brody's widow believes that her family is deliberately being targeted by another shark in search of revenge.
I mean, that's as correct as anything, I suppose.
My synopsis, when her son is killed by a shark in Amity, Ellen Brody travels to the Bahamas, unaware that a shark has followed them in search of vengeance.
That's a better one. I give you that one.
Hey, I'll
well
take
done.
it. Taglines this episode include, this time, it's personal. The big one.
Became a meme before there were memes.
Yeah.
The idea, this time it's personal.
Yep.
It's a shark. I love that.
Oh, it's great. On Friday, June 17th, man's deepest fear will rise again.
I like that deepest fear.
Mm-hmm. And then
water.
Man's deepest fear has risen again.
Okay, those are basically the same tagline.
Thing, yeah.
Okay.
Jaws the Revenge, currently available as we record this to stream on Peacock. You can also rent it via Prime and Fandango as well. Peacock does have all 4 Jaws films at this time, so if you are looking to binge them, that is the place to go.
Well, we just very recently celebrated the first Jaws' 50th anniversary.
Yes, we did. Director on the film is Joseph Sargent. He gets his start actually as an actor in 1951 with Her First Romance. Goes on to be in I Am the Law, From Here to Eternity, I Led 3 Lives, Dr. Hudson's Secret Journal, The Lone Ranger, State Trooper, Pied Piper of Hamelin, Grey Ghost, Navy Log, Sheriff of Cochise, Tales of Wells Fargo, The Detective, Torbuck, Carolyn, Ivory Hunters. It's not until 1959, though, that he does his first directing on Street Fighter.
Which Street Fighter?
Not the Sonny Chiba one. It's 1959.
Because it's too early.
So then he goes on to shoot Lassie in 64. Also shoots some episode of Bonanza, Kentucky Jones, Mr. Novak, Gunsmoke, The Wackiest Ship in the Army in 1965. Then he goes on to shoot One Spy Too Many, episodes of The Fugitive, Girl from U.N.C.L.E., episodes of Star Trek, episodes of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., FBI, Spy in the Green Hat, Hell with Heroes, It Takes a Thief in 1970, The Tribe, Longstreet, Man on a String, Buck and the Preacher, The Man Who Died Twice. Then, in 1973, he shoots what is probably one of the best-known Hicksploitation films, White Lightning.
Really?
Yep, he is the director of White Lightning.
Okay, now we're cooking.
So then he goes on to shoot Sunshine in 73, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 in 1974. Goes on to shoot Hustling, The Night That Panicked America, MacArthur, Amber Waves, Playing for Time, Coast to Coast, Freedom. Then in 1983, he shoots an anthology film entitled Nightmares, The Bishop of Battle with Emilio Estevez. He directed that.
God damn. Okay.
Goes on to shoot Memorial Day in 83, Choices of the Heart, Space, Passion Flower, There Must Be a Pony in 86, Of Pure Blood in 86. Then in 87, Jaws the Revenge. He then basically goes on to work for TV that moment on for CBS Summer Playhouse, Day One, Caroline, Ivory Hunters, Never Forget, Somebody's Daughter, Skylark, My Antonia, Streets of Laredo, The Wall, Crime and Punishment, A Lesson Before Dying, Bojangles, Salem Witch Trials in 2002, the TV movie.
Okay, yeah.
Then he goes on to do Warm Springs, Sybil, and Sweet Nothing in My Ear.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he worked a lot.
He definitely had, I mean, White Lightning is a movie that I grew up on. My dad loves Burt Reynolds. So White Lightning, The Longest Yard, I grew up with those movies. So the fact that he did that and did put that together until I was watching this, I was like, holy shit.
I mean, it sounds like they hired, they brought in a guy who had a ton of experience, but by bringing in a guy who had done a lot of TV, they wanted somebody who was disciplined.
Yeah. Because
that's the big thing on TV. You keep your schedule, you keep your budget.
Yeah, we did unfortunately lose him back in 2014, December 22nd. He passed from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It does not give his age, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I could put it together. Oh, 89. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He was 89 when he passed.
I mean, that's, if there's any argument for there being a God, it's that God was like, you gave us Jaws the Revenge.
You
can stick around as long as we can stand.
One of the writers on the film is Peter Benchley, who gets a character credit, of course, but he gets to start writing the novel of Jaws in 1975, where he also does the screenplay, does the novel and screenplay for The Deep in 77, character credit for Jaws 2 in 78, The Island in 1980. I was going to ask you about this. Have you ever seen The Island with Michael Caine and David Warner?
That's not the body farming one, right?
No, this is the one where Michael Caine and his son are on an expedition on the sea, and they end up coming across modern pirates ran by David Warner.
No.
And David Warner kind of Captain Hooks the kid, trying to make him his apprentice and whatnot and turn him against his father.
That sounds pretty cool.
It's a pretty sweet movie. I haven't seen it in a bit. I would love to revisit it. But yeah, does that in 1980, does the novel and screenplay for that, gets character credit for Jaws 3D in 83, Jaws the Revenge in 87, gets character credit. Then he goes on to write Dolphin Cove, The Beast in 1996, Creature in 98, which is a movie I remember because my mom showed me the TV guide ad for it, which was like a Jaws creature with like the arm coming through the porthole of a ship. Pretty badass.
Okay, yeah.
So he does that in 98. Then he does Amazon, which he's the creator of in 99. And then we unfortunately lost him back in 2006, February 11th, at 65 from an idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis.
Jeez.
Yeah. But Benchley, I do want to say something in regards to, you watched the Sharksploitation documentary that Shudder did, right?
Yeah.
So you saw all the stuff about how Peter Benchley writing Jaws made him a huge activist for the ocean and sharks and everything. Very cool guy. And it would not have been done had he not written that novel and then actually realized how sharks are completely different from what he actually put on the pages and screen.
So he was like Oppenheimer.
Cool. And we'll stick with that.
Why? Oppenheimer was like, we got to regulate atomic power. We got to regulate atomic weapons. I am become death, destroyer of worlds.
Our other writer on the film is Michael de Guzman. He gets his start as a writer in 75 on Rock and Magic Fun Show. Then he goes on to do Strangers, Story of a Mother and Daughter in 79, Act of Love in 1980, Thornwall, Winter of Our Discontent, As Summers Die, Amazing Stories in 86. We Are the Children in 87. Then he also writes Jaws the Revenge, followed by Red Earth, White Earth, Carolyn, Babe Ruth, To My Daughter with Love, Redwood Curtain, Hidden in America, Angel of Pennsylvania Avenue, Lost Treasure of Dos Santos, and King and Queen of Moonlight Bay in 2003.
So he worked on Amazing Stories. That means he worked in some way with Spielberg.
Yeah. And Mick Garris and a bunch of other people.
Well, but Spielberg
that was a
made
show.
Jaws. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, because you mentioned the director directed something with Michael Caine and David Warner in it. And so Michael Caine, that might have helped bring Michael Caine on board.
Or no, Peter Benchley. He wrote the novel.
Sorry. That's then never mind.
Our cinematographer on the film is Josh McPherson. He gets to start as a DP in 77 on The Incredible Hulk, goes on to shoot for Kojak, Bride of the Incredible Hulk, The Archer, Dark Room, the series from 81.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Then goes on to do Senior Trip, Eleanor, First Lady of the World, Voyagers, Voyager from the Unknown, Saint Elsewhere, Powers of Matthew Starr, V in 83.
V.
Then goes on to do Trauma Center, Legman, A Reason to Live. Then in 1985, he shoots Just One of the Guys.
Finally, a real motion picture.
Then goes on to shoot Hot Pursuit, Shadow Chasers, Acceptable Risk, shoots episodes of Amazing Stories in 86. Then goes on to shoot Jaws the Revenge in 87. Then, same year, shoots Batteries Not Included.
Oh, no shit.
Follows that up in 1988 with Short Circuit 2.
Los Lobos kick your ass. Los Lobos kick your face. Los Lobos kick your balls into outer space.
Also, after that, directs Fletch Lives, another sequel.
Okay, then.
Then goes on to shoot Baywatch, Panic at Malibu Pier, The Littlest Victims, Yabba Dabba Doo Celebration, Alien Nation, both the pilot and the film.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I love Alien Nation.
Bingo in 1991. Also in this time, he's also directed episodes of The Incredible Hulk, Dark Room, Alien Nation, Strays in 1991, the TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then goes on to shoot Dirty Work, not that one. Fade to Black, not that one.
Oh.
Swamp Thing series in 1990.
I think like, not that one. What?
The Untouchable series in 94.
Okay, yeah.
Incident at Deception Ridge in 94. The Watcher in 95. Extreme, Strange Luck, episodes of Jag, episodes of Sliders, Babylon 5, Nash Bridges, Beverly Hills 90210, and even 7 Days in 2001. We unfortunately lost him back in 2007, December 21st at age 65. No cause of death given.
Wow. Man, talk about a career in TV just catapulting. So interesting. So the DP and one of the writers worked on Amazing Stories, although a lot of people did work on Amazing Stories.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder if that was somehow an element to getting them in Jaws 4.
It could have been.
Not 100% sure. It's just interesting to me because I wonder, has Spielberg said anything about the Jaws sequels that he wasn't involved with directly?
Not that I can recall, because I just watched literally all the making ofs. I mean, he's only in the first one, obviously. And they brought up the sequels at the tail end, and he just said, he said something along the lines of, "I'm aware of them. I've never seen them."
Damn, never seen them. Spielberg.
Moving on to our cast, we have Lorraine Gary, who plays Ellen Brody in the film. She gets her start in 1967 on Dragnet. Goes on to be in Name of the Game in 69, The Bold Ones, The Protectors in 69, The Bold Ones, The New Doctors in 69 as well. McLeod, The Virginian, The City, O'Hara U.S. Treasury, Macmillan and Wife, Her Ramsey, Night Gallery in 72, Marcus Nelson Murders in 73, which is where Spielberg sees her to cast her in Jaws, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Partners in Crime in 73, Wide World of Mystery in 73, The FBI in 73, Ironside, Kojak, Pray for the Wildcats, Marcus Welby, MD, then The Rookies in 72, Jaws in 75, then goes on to also be in Car Wash in 76, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden in 77, Jaws 2 in 78, 0 to 60 in 78, Crash in 78, Just You, Me, and the Kid in 79, Jaws the Revenge in 87.
She came out of quasi-retirement.
Yes, that is correct.
She
yeah.
didn't do anything after Jaws the Revenge?
No.
Oh, so that was straight up.
That was it. Yeah.
Because a lot of times we've seen with a few, especially female actors, we've seen them come out of retirement and then have an entire second career as like in their older age.
Yeah.
We've seen a few people who had just as long a career after.
Yeah. I mean,
retired.
Piper Laurie.
That's what I was thinking. It was Piper
retired.
Laurie.
Yeah.
And then she came back and was like in, I think, easily as much stuff as she was in before.
Yeah. I mean, Carrie launched her at that point, obviously. I mean, it was not even a decade later she was in Twin Peaks.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, for those who don't know, Lorraine Gary also married to Sid Sheinberg, who was the MCA president at Universal. So that's why she came out of retirement for that one specifically.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing. I mean, she probably got. Do we know how much they paid her?
I don't. It may be in my notes, but I don't think it is. Moving down to our cast, we also have Lance Guest, who plays Michael Brody in the film. He gets his start as an actor in 78 on Dallas. Goes on to be in Why Us in 81. Please Don't Hit Me, Mom in 81 as well. Halloween 2 in 81. Cassie and Company in 82. I Ought to Be a Prince. Lou Grant. Saint Elsewhere. Confessions of a Married Man. The Roommate. Then The Last Starfighter, of course, in 84, which he's the star of.
Which I only saw not that long ago for the
last
first
year
time.
For me on the big screen.
And it is good.
Oh, it's so
That's
much
a
fun.
really great film.
So much fun. Just the Way You Are in 84, ABC After School Specials, Walking to Act in 85, Jaws the Revenge in 87, then goes on to be in The Wizard of Loneliness, Favorite Son, Knots Landing, The Wonder Years, Liz Goes On, Heart to Heart Returns, All American Girl, episodes of The X-File in 95, Party of Five, The Burning Zone, Plan B, Becker, Thanks, Stepsister from Planet Weird in 2000, Mach 2 in 2000, episodes of JAG, NYPD Blue, House, Shadowbox, Jericho, Fluebird Horror, Least of These, and Wake Up. Late Show with Letterman, he appears on. Night of the Wolf, Late Phases in 2014. He's the son.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah.
Traces in 2021. The Patient in 2022, which is the Steve Carell show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's such a great film.
And Alter Perceptions in 2023.
Oh, man. No, The Patient that's seriously one to watch.
Yeah. We also have Mario Van Peebles in the cast, who plays Jake. 111 credits on this man's resume, by the way, which I'm sure you're not surprised by.
What was it?
111 credits on Mario Van Peebles.
Wow. I actually thought it might be more.
You want more?
Well, I think he was able to get more picky.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Oh, absolutely. So he gets his start in 71 with Sweetback's Badass Song, of course.
Sweetback's Badass Song.
Cross Current in 71. The Sophisticated Gents in 81. One Life to Live in 83. Film debut for his later career in Exterminator 2 in 84.
I mean, that's where your career really launches.
Goes on to be in another one of my favorites, The Cotton Club in 84. Delivery Boys 85. Rappin' in 85. Children of the Night. South Bronx Heroes. The Cosby Show. 315 Moment of Truth. Last Resort. LA Law. Heartbreak Ridge in 86. Facts of Life Down Under in 87. Same year he does Jaws the Revenge. Then goes on to be in The Child Saver. Identity Crisis. 21 Jump Street. Blue Bayou. New Jack City in 91, which he also directs.
Yes.
Stompin' at Savoy, In the Line of Duty, Street War, which those In the Line of Duty movies are so much fun. And that one was one of the best.
Yeah?
Yeah. Street War is fantastic. Goes on to do In Living Color in 93, Posse in 93, which he also directs. Gunman, Full Eclipse, Highlander Final Dimension, Panther, Solo, Riot, Gang in Blue, Strangers, The Outer Limits, Crazy Six, Killers in the House, Judgment Day in 99. The one with Ice-T.
I love Judgment Day.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Martial Law in 98. The Hebrew Hammer in 2003.
I love The Hebrew Hammer.
That thing played Comedy Central incessantly.
It was an original.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Badass, the making of Sweet Sweetback's Badass song.
Yeah, it's kind of the story of his father.
Yeah.
And he plays his father.
Yeah.
It's a great film.
Soul Food 2004, Carlito's Way, Rise to Power, Hard Luck, Law and Order, All My Children, Damages, The Game, Hellcats, We the Party, which he also directs, Red Sky, Drumline, A New Beat. Yes, there's a Drumline sequel.
Okay.
Then he goes on to do Bloodline, Deception, Z Nation, A Clear Shot, Empire, Salt and Pepper, Wu-Tang and American Saga, which he also directs, Black Cake in 2023, and Outlaw Posse in 2024.
I am embarrassed to say I didn't know he was so active still.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Directing that I didn't mention includes Gang in Blue, Hard Luck. He directed episode of Sons of Anarchy, episode of Damages, episode of Law and Order, episode of Lost, episodes of Boss, episodes of NCIS, Once Upon a Time, The Last Ship, Roots. He also directed the USS Indianapolis, Men of Courage, the Nick Cage movie.
He directed it?
That's a Mario Van Peebles directed film.
Did we watch that? I don't think
You did.
Oh,
Because it hit Netflix.
Oh, no, I liked it. It was pretty good.
Episodes of Empire, episodes of Power, Salt and Pepper, the VH1, or I think it was a VH1 original movie, I think. CSI Vegas and that Wu-Tang. So he's been...
Now I know why his credits as an actor dropped, because he became a prolific television director.
Oh, yeah.
Good for him.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mario Van Peebles is badass.
Posse from 1993, the Western he did with Billy Zane. Fantastic movie that does not get enough credit.
I'm pretty sure I have Joe Bob hosting that on my list.
I know Andrew really loves that movie too. So what was your first time watching Jaws the Revenge?
Well, David, I was so young that I can't pinpoint an exact moment, but I can tell you that I watched it many, many times because I taped it off of HBO. And this says a lot about me. I had to have been 6 years old, because it scared me. The opening sequence we're going to be talking about here in a minute, where the shark bites the guy's arm off, scared me so bad and gave me so many nightmares as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
That I used to, when I would want to watch Jaws, which is, at 5, I was like, I'm going to watch Jaws. When I used to watch it, I would fast forward past that. And I would start after that was over.
Fair
because
point.
It was scary.
No, it's traumatizing as a kid. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's still a pretty effective scene, except for the weird mishmash of edits they did for the attack where the shark comes up. Because this is based on nothing.
Yeah.
But I believe that likely the original version was just like a quick shot of the shark and then like splashing water and then him going, and realizing his arm was gone, which would have been scary, even more scary.
Yeah.
But then they just like hodgepodge in all these
water,
shark
teeth.
Yeah. And some of them, it's clearly daytime footage. They've turned blue.
Yep.
But that scene stuck out with me forever.
Absolutely.
And I've always had a fear of the water. So I really liked, as a kid, the sequences once they end up on the boat for like that last act, where they're all trying to figure out how to kill the shark.
Yeah.
And it gets,
spoilers,
progressively stupider as you go. But no, so I saw it insanely young and watched it many, many times, and then revisited it as a teenager, realizing like, oh, hey, I now that DVD is really proliferated, I'm going to watch Jaws, and then Jaws 2, and then Jaws 3, and then Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, whoa, Jaws the Revenge. But then it was years later when I was watching it at my buddy's beach house on Long Beach Island, New Jersey.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, you want to watch Jaws? And I was like, I want to watch Jaws the Revenge. And he lit up. He was like, I have a copy of the multi-pack.
Yeah.
We were watching Jaws the Revenge, and that was the first time that I insisted on dissecting all of the weird things. That makes
sense. Because you could at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was pausing it and going like, whoa. And my buddy, it was with my buddy Josh, and Josh was a film guy.
Yeah.
So I would stop and be like, dude, because he would joke about like, these edits are so bad. And I was like, let's see just how bad these edits are.
Yep.
And that's the birth of the event screenings of Jaws the Revenge that happened in my home impromptu.
Backyard.
Well, we did the backyard, but the first time I did that was in my living room.
Well, that was because originally we went to go see Conjuring 2, and Conjuring 2 was sold out, and that was the day that Amazon had graciously delivered my Jaws Blu-rays of 2, 3, and 4. So we came back here because Conjuring 2 was sold out, and we put on Jaws the Revenge.
And I remember because I was like, have you frame by frame the cuts? And you had not. And I like to think I've given an entire generation of people slightly more of an appreciation for how nuts Jaws the Revenge is.
I think so Jaws the Revenge is 90 minutes, as I said at the beginning of the show. I think that particular watching of Jaws the Revenge at your house, when we frame by framed it, made it into a 2.5 hour event.
Easily. It also established things like singing The Revenge to the tune of Noel, of the first Noel and stuff. I love Jaws the Revenge. It's very much like some people feel about like Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much to love about how weird Jaws the Revenge is, and every weird choice is worth dissecting.
So the first time for me watching it, I was a young kid. I'm not sure how young I was, but it was late at night. I think I was the only one left up in the house, and it was TNT. And I was watching whatever was ending on there, have no idea. And it went into Jaws the Revenge. And I had seen all of 1, had seen bits and pieces of 2, had never seen 3, and knew about the Revenge, but had never seen it. So it started, and that scene of the son getting his arm bit off and then getting his head basically bit off with everything was just so fucking traumatic that I stopped and went to bed. Like, I was just like, nope, this is too intense.
What a wuss.
So then several years later, caught it on TV again, watched it. Always had that understanding of it was the lesser of the Jaws sequels, so really didn't pay much attention to it. But when Amazon had announced that 2, 3, and 4 were coming out, well, I have to get the entire collection. How can I not?
Well, yeah.
So got them, and then you and I watched Jaws the Revenge. I was never a big fan of Jaws the Revenge because I always felt like there was not much shark in it. And what's hilarious is I think, honestly, it probably has the most screen time next to 2.
Yeah, there's a lot of shark, actually.
There's a lot of shark.
For better and for worse. There's a lot of shark.
But it was the screening in your backyard in particular where I was just like, oh, this is actually a pretty fun movie.
There's so much going on. It has, like I said, the best part about the film is the choices. The choices are so strange. It's just offbeat enough.
Oh, yeah.
And Michael Caine really kind of throws a weird kind of monkey wrench in it by being Michael Caine.
Yeah.
He's not phoning it in. He's doing his best.
He's being Hoagie.
Well, because he's Michael Caine.
Yeah.
You know, he always does his best, I think. I mean, maybe I don't think he's ever phoned it in.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that though. But
it kind of shocked me he wasn't the top tier of the casting, because when I did my notes, I was just like, wow, Michael Caine's not in the top 3.
Well, I could tell you why that is. Wouldn't let them.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
That's a major negotiation point.
Yeah.
So the whole thing would be like, oh, if I'm going to do it for this amount of money, then you can't credit me.
Michael
like
Caine,
I have to be
Jaws the Revenge.
When in the few films I've done where we've worked with celebrity cameos where they were only a day.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things, was like, you cannot top bill me.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed because I'm only in it for a day. And fair enough. I mean, I get it. They don't want their name to become cheap because, you're top billed and then you're in 4 scenes.
Yeah.
So I get it. But yeah, so I guarantee that was a part of it, was that he couldn't be credited in the top 2.
Yeah.
Or he just plain wanted even more money, because I don't remember how much they paid him, but it was a lot.
2 million?
It might have been that much.
Jesus. It's 2 or 3 million, I want to say, I feel like. So opening with Jaws the Revenge, obviously we have to start like any other Jaws movie. We are under the sea. And we have the theme. We have the theme playing. We're going through the town of Amityville. Wow. Of Amity, and seeing that it's nighttime. There's a bunch of boats around, and we immediately go up to basically the eye of a dead fish as we are in the kitchen of the Brodys.
According to some reports, 1.5 million, some just 1 million. But that was for 2 weeks.
Jesus.
2 weeks work.
I know he wanted to go to Hawaii because that's in my notes. So that's like he read.
They shot in Hawaii?
The first page said opening Hawaii, and like the notes in the script did. So that was like, oh yeah, I'll take a vacation.
It became Bahamas, which is pretty good too.
Yeah.
Still too.
But yeah, so we are in the kitchen of the Brodys. We see that Sean, the son, the youngest son from the original movie, is now a deputy at the Amityville police station. He is cooking fish. We see Ellen Brody is talking to Michael about his job in the Bahamas, because he is now working with Sea Life as well. And then we cut over to Christmas time in Amity.
It's actually kind of cute.
It is.
There's a little bit of snow on the ground. It's supposed to be upstate New York, so they have quite the winters. There's Christmas lights up everywhere.
Children
Kids are
singing.
And unfortunately, that doesn't last very long.
Does not bode well for Sean, because he stops in the police station before going home, and Polly tells him that there's a call in that there is a hunk of wood that is on a buoy that is keeping it blocked, and they need it removed before the fishing boats get back in the morning. So he decides to go on out and get it unblocked, and he pulls up to the buoy, We see everything's calm. We're hearing kids sing the first Noel.
Mm-hmm. The revenge, the revenge.
And he goes over to the buoy. He goes to remove the piece of wood. We cut to POV of something approaching the boat. And suddenly, a lot of cuts and edits later, his arm is missing.
Yes. And it's still, I mean, even with those cuts, I mean, he falls back and just kind of looks around, and then he realizes like there's no arm there.
And my memory, for some reason, thought you saw bone.
See, my memory was that I was almost certainly rewatching it as a kid on an EP VHS.
Yeah.
And for those who are too young, EP meant you could fit like 6 hours
Extended
or something
play.
ridiculous. Yeah, it was like 6 hours on a 2-hour tape.
Yeah.
But the quality was very low.
Yeah.
And I remember it being dark and him just kind of falling back and it being all dark and murky, and then him revealing like by moving his hand over where his arm should be.
Yeah.
Because on the Blu-ray, you kind of see that he's clearly hiding his arm.
Yeah.
But on VHS, I was just like, because the idea that you would something would happen really sudden and then you'd fall back and then realize you have no arm.
Well,
terrifying.
And I always felt like it was pretty violent for a Jaws movie of what we'd seen so far, because we'd seen attacks, but they're usually in the water. For him to actually fall back and have something missing, that usually didn't happen.
Yeah,
so I mean, that was a pretty big jump from previous Jaws films.
Yeah, and it's a good way to catch the audience's attention.
Yeah. So he starts panicking, of course, calling out, screaming, and we see the POV of the shark again approaching the boat as he is leaning against the side of it. More edits, more jumpy camera. There's one shot in particular that they use throughout this movie, which is a shot of the shark opening its mouth, and you just see the teeth outline.
It's just coming right at the lens.
And that is the shot they keep using over and over again.
Oh yeah, they use shots from the first film. They do all kinds of reduce, reuse, recycle.
That they do. So Sean ends up in the water. When we cut back, we see that the boat's completely been bit off of the side. It's starting to sink, actually. Sean's screaming for help. We're hearing the first Noel or Silent Night from the kids on the shore. And then suddenly it gets pulled under along with the boat.
And then it's quiet.
It is quiet.
Which was also really scary. Then it's silent, other than hearing the kids singing off in the distance.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we cut over to the funeral. We see that Michael and his wife and his daughter are in town with them. We also see some regulars from Jaws return. Mrs. Kittner returns, and so does the one woman who's, are you going to close the beaches?
There's a lot of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And that takes effort and care.
Yeah.
To try to make a proper sequel to the first one. That's kind of what I feel like they were actually going for.
Yeah.
Was that after 3 had done what 3 did, they were like, okay, we need to bring back people from the film. We need to go back to Amity briefly. And which is why it's extra funny that the movie turned out the way it did, because it's like there's so much attitude of like, who cares, just get it done, like whatever. And then also, but it's a sequel to Jaws. We should do this and this and this to try and make it all work.
I think the best reveal of all is right here, where that we find out that she's going to go back with them to the Bahamas and everything. But they show this piece of wood on the beach that was what was on the buoy. Mm-hmm. It's a piece of the orca.
Yeah, that's a hell of a moment.
That's a fucking Easter egg now.
Yeah, well, and the fact that the mother, is dealing with the fact that, like, I lost a husband to. What didn't she say? It was like he didn't die in the water.
He didn't die of he didn't die of a heart attack. He died of fear of it coming back.
Yeah,
basically.
he lived his life in terror.
Yeah.
And that gave him an early grave.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine he was very fun to live with during that period. No, but I mean, it's a sad story.
We see Roy Scheider in a shot in this movie as he's a picture in the police station, which is one of the promo shots from Jaws that I love.
Well, of course. Of course.
But I've always loved that little touch that we see that's a piece of the orca that is literally starting the events of this movie.
Yeah. So it's like it all comes back.
Yeah.
It comes back around.
So yeah, she flies out with Michael and his family, and that's when we meet Hoagie, which is Michael Caine for the first time.
To name Michael Caine Hoagie is just great.
Yeah. No, it really is.
Hoagie is such a hilarious nickname anyway.
Yeah.
But for a British man, very funny.
Pretty great. So yeah, Michael's convinced her to come out with the family and everything. So they're flying out. They're flying into the Bahamas. And the first shot we get is them approaching the house in a limo with the limo driver singing Christmas music, mind you.
Of course, because it's festive.
Because it's
a festive time of year.
And immediately Ellen arrives at the house and is freaked out because there's a rope swing that hangs over this pier where the little girl is swinging, and she just wants no one near the water. Even back at the house, she has said, I want you to quit your job. Get away from the water. I don't want any of my family near the water. And that's when the whole thing of your father being afraid is what killed him.
Yeah. And it's hilarious because with all the events of the Jaws film, first 2 films.
Yeah.
both sons worked with the water.
Yeah.
Now, of course, one works where it all happened. The other works on the other side of the world in a totally different type of ocean, doing research on conch shells.
Yeah.
And well, not the shells, but the conchs themselves. He's an aquatic researcher.
Yeah.
Which is, of course he is.
And for those who don't remember, Michael is the one who's in the pond in the original Jaws film. Michael's in the pond. That's when he encounters the shark in Jaws 1. He is also, they're both tormented by the shark again in Jaws 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael gets concussed in Jaws 2, and Sean is left with everybody on the island in Jaws 2. So these kids have not had an easy life with water.
Well,
or sharks.
In their defense, it's been like 20 years.
It has been 20 years.
So it has been a long time.
And no SeaWorld.
And most people, they just forget childhood trauma. It doesn't really stick around.
It doesn't really stick around. No.
Nah.
That is shocking that Michael did seek out a job for ocean work.
Yeah. I mean, it is, it's a totally different place though. I mean, working in the Bahamas in the warm water.
Yeah.
Totally different. I assume. I've never been in warm ocean water.
I haven't either. I mean, I've been the Florida is where
I think that's close. I think that's warmer than, the furthest south I've been in the ocean is Jersey.
That's fair.
And it's cold.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, the first time I went to the ocean was I think it was New Hampshire. It was right nearby. It was way up New England. That water was freezing cold in the summer.
I can imagine.
But honestly, it's very nice when it's hot. But yeah, cold water. Oof.
So there's not. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. And we've discussed this off mic. There's not a lot that per se happens in this movie, so we may throw some events around and rush through this pretty quick.
Except everything happens.
Everything happens in this movie
because you've got a killer shark, you've got family dynamics, you've got generational trauma, you've got a new love blossoming in the shadow of death. David.
I mean, fair. Michael works with Mario Van Peebles' character Jake. They are studying snails at the bottom of the ocean, conch shells specifically, and his wife is a metal worker that is doing this big sculpture for Bahamas.
She's a metal artist. Yeah, I mean, she's not building piers and stuff out of steel. She's creating things out of metal.
Yeah,
and I want to make sure we don't pass over the fact that Van Peebles in this has been cast as a Jamaican.
Jamaican.
So he's got his dreadlocks. And he's doing his whole Mon thing.
He's doing his accent.
And he is chewing that scenery.
Yes.
I looked like he was having some fun.
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people are just having fun in this movie, because how can you not?
I mean, they literally all get to hang out in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
They get to hang out in the Bahamas. Do you notice how tan Michael is? Like, he is really tan. Like,
Yeah. So some events that happen, we have Lorraine Gary has a nightmare that she's swimming in the water and the shark attacks her. Some quick edits and some whatnot. She wakes up in the bed and Thea is like, Grandma, are you okay? And we also see that we talked about the voodoo element that's cut out of this movie. She is on the beach playing with Thea at one point. They're making a sandcastle, and she just looks out into the water and just gets a vibe of something.
Yes.
And right as they do this, they cut to the best fucking shot of the shark, in my opinion, throughout the entire movie. It swims through the water, this huge shark with its mouth open the entire time.
Well, they do just catch whatever they catch and they'll eat it.
They do. But I mean, it's pretty great.
No, it's... And how the shark looks underwater varies from really good to quite silly. But the main reason it's silly is because the shark is not real.
Yeah.
So when it passes the camera, it's just a big puppet.
Yeah. So Michael is back to work on his first day, and they're not finding any conch shells. Him and Jake actually get into it for a little bit, and he has to they have to both take a second, because Michael is just like, what the fuck, man? And Jake takes a second. He's like, I'm sorry about your brother, man.
Yeah, because when they're starting to fight away, it's like, you left me all alone to do all this. It's like, dude, his brother suddenly died.
Yeah.
Horrifically.
And we get the take, too, that they're really tight with the family. They actually live pretty close to each other as well.
Oh, yeah, they're clearly best friends.
Jake and his wife are over at the house. They're talking, to his mom about stories of them and as kids. And even the little girl, Thea, is just like, was Uncle Sean ever bad? Did you ever have to spank him? And that breaks Lorraine Gary's character down several times in this movie.
Yeah, out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah.
Thanks, kid.
So this leads up to the introduction of the shark being in the film and at the Bahamas. Is Jake is down there in the submarine doing the conch study, and all of a sudden the shark just appears right by him.
And it's not really a submarine, because they're in scuba gear.
Yeah.
It's more of just a transportation device. Because like it doesn't keep air in or anything. The water fills it up and you just go around and you're already in the scuba. I don't know. There's a word for it, but I can't think of it.
I can't think of it either.
But it's like a little car for underwater. Basically.
Yeah, he's literally we see a shot of the conch shells, we cut back, and there's Jake, and there's the shark just next to him.
Just this giant great white shark head. And honestly, the fact that there's no like music scare right there is actually really scary.
It's unsettling.
It's just there.
It's just there.
Because underwater, there's no sound.
Yeah.
Everything is the same kind of underwater sound, you know? So the idea that it could just come right up to you.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Well, and then also so it bumps him a little bit and then just swims past him. And he's like, Jake, why are you quiet? Why are you quiet? Then the shark leaps up, bites onto their boat, gnaws on it for a bit. And this shark, again, is huge.
It's gigantic.
Just gnawing on this boat. And Michael is immediately just like, whoa.
But of course, instead of being mortified, they're fascinated.
Yeah.
Because they're aquatic experts. They're marine biologists. That's the word I was trying to think of. They're marine biologists.
Yeah.
So they know that like, while it's not impossible, it's pretty much unheard of for a great white shark to be in the warm Caribbean waters.
Correct.
This is completely out of the ordinary.
Not expected at all.
Which means that there must be a really interesting scientific explanation.
Yes.
And because nobody thought, maybe it's just voodoo. Because that shark would have swam, I think it was like 7,000 miles.
There is, I'll talk about when we get to the notes, but there is a whole section in the book about it coming in contact with a sperm whale, which basically dictates where it's at in the water of crossing over, apparently.
That makes sense. I mean, and sharks can travel an immense distance.
Yeah.
It seemed to get there pretty quick, though.
from New England.
Yeah. Well, not from New England. Remember, this was New York. So that saves us like 400 miles out of like 6,000.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's assuming that he swam and didn't take the Amtrak.
Well, what Sharkspedia track, what route he would have taken at that point.
Sharkspedia.
You're welcome.
That's all right. That was pretty good. That was a pretty good one.
So while this is all going on too, Hoagie is trying to calm Ellen down, like make her have fun on the island, have her explore, but also have her let go of like the fear and just like the trauma that is held on.
Yeah, they want her to get away from the town where she lost so much.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I think it's wild that they stayed in that town.
It really is.
For so long. And I know that there have been many jokes made about like, if you're afraid of a shark, you know where you don't want to be?
Near the water.
Near the ocean.
Yeah.
Like, how about Idaho?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you get the sense that the family itself doesn't really talk about much because there's that whole scene in the beginning right before they leave to go to the Bahamas that Michael and his wife are walking on the beach and she asks him something about Sean and he just like starts running and she's like, where are you going? He's like, nowhere.
Yeah, no, it's definitely avoidance has been a big thing. And if you think about it, Michael would be the avoiding child. He's the one who did move really far away.
Oh, yeah.
Really
far away. Yeah. So Hoagie is trying to persuade her to let go. There's several scenes where they're at a festival dancing. There's a huge New Year's Eve scene where because Jake wants to study the shark, he basically has Michael tell him, do not say a word about this to my mom.
Yeah, well, because Jake is flat out like the conch will always be there.
Yeah.
This could be something that could bring us an insane amount of grant money. It could get us a ton of attention. It could make us famous. It could set our careers up for life because this is an animal that people already don't understand very well. And now we have it in a place in the world where it's never supposed to be.
So let's tag it.
Let's tag it and find out where it came from, where it's going, and why it's here.
So they set up this whole scene where he has this transponder that he is going to attach to the shark via like basically stabbing it in the side.
Yeah.
And so he's got Michael holding him back on the ropes. They're waiting for the shark to come about. They've gone through the water. They've chummed the water as well. And then finally the shark pops up. Jake gets it and nabs it in the side. And now they have a trackable shark.
Yeah. And they basically... The transponder broadcasts its heartbeat.
Yes.
That's how it works. So they know when it's coming because their machines will start to get the...
Yep. So now this also allows them to be safer again when they're studying the conches in the rare times that they do as well. Mm-hmm. So they think.
Well, that's fair. And I believe this was around the time that Van Peebles makes the Jaws sound.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
No. So this has been a popular thing to pick on Jaws the Revenge about, which I love.
Yeah.
And now as I'm rewatching, I'm like, man, memory changes things. The critique was always that when Van Peebles is talking to him on the radio, when he's in the water and they know the shark is nearby early on.
Yeah.
That he's going, da, da, da da, and people are like, what is he referencing? Because Jaws doesn't exist in this universe.
This is Jaws.
But then I watched it tonight
Yeah.
and realized he isn't going da da.
No.
Now, unless they changed it after the fact, which I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
No.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's actually just kind of, it's more of a generic like suspense.
Yeah.
Dun 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 dun.
Dun.
And that's not, I mean, John Williams.
It's not
was it
John Williams. Yeah. It's
He's a
not John
genius.
Williams' score.
Well, he's a genius score writer, but he didn't invent going dun dun.
Yeah.
Dun dun.
He did not.
So I'll give it to you though. It's still funny, the idea of like doing a movie scary thing, but he isn't straight up doing John Williams' score.
Yeah.
Although right after that, we do get the first real big dur.
We do.
Dur.
Because as Michael is going through looking at the conches, he doesn't see from the side that the shark comes in and starts biting at the sub immediately.
Oh yeah, it wants to eat that submersible, and it wants to get itself some more Brody chow.
It wants some Brody. So Michael decides that he is going to ditch the submarine boat, whatever you want to call it, the
whatever
device.
the thing is, yeah.
And he sees a sunken ship nearby that he swims into. And this is probably my favorite scene of the movie.
It's the most lengthy underwater photography.
Yeah.
And it's really solid.
Yeah.
You can tell they spent money on this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this scene in particular has a really good chase to it because he goes inside this sunken ship and the shark, of course, is too big to go in where he goes in the first time. So the shark has to swim around. So he's swimming through the ship. We see up above where the opening is that the shark is going over and then suddenly is down into the ship quickly.
The shark is fast.
The shark is very fast.
Damn fast.
Damn fast.
Damn fast.
He is swimming through this sunken ship. The shark is gaining on him. At one point, he makes it to this porthole door and opens it and gets out right as the shark comes through. And he gets up to the second tier of the ship, and the shark bursts through the fucking wall.
Yeah. So the shark, fast, able to leap quite a ways out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, this shark has got a lot going for him.
And I will say that the wall burst especially is a great shot of the shark because there's several times during this chase it does not look great.
No, but there were a few moments, especially when it's attacking like the side of a boat.
Oh yeah,
it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good. So he escapes the situation by using his tank to burst and shoot to the top of the surface. They get him on the boat and he is safe
for now.
For now.
Dur, dur.
So by this point, they've had this celebration. There's a New Year's thing that we talked about where they've had everything going up all the way to this festival that she has been crafting for this metal piece for. So it's the ceremony. And also through the movie, we get the idea that their marriage might be having some issues.
It's more, I get the sense that it's not that their marriage is having any kind of unusual issues. It's that Michael has become, between losing his brother and seeing the shark and dealing with his mother's grief, he's just not himself.
Yeah.
Because she, honestly, one of the best bits of writing in this film, or maybe, is their relationship, because she is very sweet and playful and overall supportive. And one thing I remember every time I watch this movie is like, they go to great lengths to make it very clear that Michael and his wife love each other.
Oh yeah.
Like they are in love.
Yeah.
They can't keep their hands off each other in nearly any scene.
Well, and there's the whole scene where Michael catches Hoagie and his mom returning from the day out at the first time. And she's like, come to bed. Like, I can make you forget about that.
Well, she literally, while he's looking out the window, she puts her hands under the covers and then takes out a pair of panties that she was wearing and flicks them at him, and they hit him in the chest. And I was like, that's good writing though. That's like fun and funny. And you can see why he's a very serious person. You can see how they would end up together.
Well, and then there's the quote unquote fight scene where they're in the garage and she's supposed to be working on the project. And then they end up having sex in the woodshed,
which is it's a metal shop,
excuse me.
But honestly, that's one of my favorite, like, bizarre choices is there's this metal shop love scene.
Well, I do like the shot. So the shot is focusing on her metalwork that she's doing, which does look a little bit like a shark jaw. So they do have this really cool shot where as they're going down on each other, they pan into the window and you see like a shot of like the jaws around the water, which is a pretty cool thing.
No, there's a lot of good shit in this movie.
There is.
But also we don't want to skip over too much Michael Caine's character and his relationship developing with the mother.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are having this kind of reluctant, burgeoning romance.
Yeah.
Because she's on this island and happens to, on the way there, get flown by Hoagie, meeting like the perfectly age-appropriate, attractive man.
Yeah.
Who apparently has no job.
No job that we know of.
Well, and I love that he was supposed to be a drug runner.
Yes, he is.
And there's a part where he, later on, when he's flying
Mario Van Peebles,
and Michael. When he's flying them, they say like, what do you fly on this plane? He says, I deliver laundry.
Yep.
And he just gives this smile like, ah. And I love that.
Yeah.
That it's just kind of an undertone is that like this rich white guy who flies planes on the island is doing illegal stuff.
He is.
To make a living.
Yeah.
But he and her love affair is really adorable.
It is. No, it really is.
And super uncommon, especially for that era, that a woman, like a much older woman, is having a love affair with a man of the same age. And that's kind of a major point of the film.
No, it
is that she's trying to move on and Hoagie's trying to help her. And I've always found that to be a really interesting choice.
Yeah.
Again, there's so many odd choices.
You develop Hoagie's character more because of the fact that Michael is inquiring about him to Jake in that scene where they're trying to tag the shark and everything.
Right.
And, he's even like, well, when did he arrive here? I don't know, man. He just showed up one day. Well, what do you know about him? And I love that that Jake just flips up his sunglasses and he's just like, he's going after my mom, man.
Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good. No, so I just want to make sure we didn't skip over that because that's one of the best done elements. They have great chemistry. Both of them are great actors.
Yeah.
And you believe it, this thing. And it's also the kind of the thing that keeps her from being just this nonstop crazy wreck.
Well, and that also leads us up to the scene that they copy from 1, where Michael's at the table with Thea and they start mimicking the things that Brody and Sean did in the original movie with like, the hands under the chin and they're making faces.
They're miming each other.
Yeah. And that also like, she sees that. And that's kind of the point where she's like kind of starting to relax, but also Michael knows that he was just attacked by a shark. He's also had a nightmare about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this thing's going on. So yeah, this leads us to this event that's going on where they're dedicating the statue. And while they're at this event, there's this banana boat that's out in the water with kids riding it and everything.
It's more of a banana and like an inflatable raft that looks like a big banana.
Yeah, that's being towed by a boat. And Thea's like, can I go do that? And her mom lets her go. So we've got Lorraine Gary and we've got Michael's wife are at this event along with Jake's wife, but the guys are gone.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, that in the water just so happens to be the shark.
And of course, she sees it. The mother sees it first.
Lorraine
sees it first.
Sees the fin, feels it too.
Yeah, and starts screaming, Thea, get in, get out of the water. And she's trying to warn everybody. And everybody doesn't know how to react at first because there just aren't big sharks in this part of the world.
No. And so the boat's going along, and one of my favorite shots again is the boat's going along. You're seeing it riding, the kids are going up and down, and the shark just pops up really high.
Yeah.
Bare in the teeth.
Yeah.
Bites a woman off the front of it and snacks on her as the boat keeps going on. And the thing I love about it is the kids are really afraid in this shot because they really were in real life, because that was the first time they'd seen the shark.
And it's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's scary. And it's a great moment. It's scary. It's tense. Most of the time, the shark looks great in these sequences, I think.
Especially when they pull away in the shot. There's a shot where it's got the woman in its mouth and it's still up in the air and the boat's going away and it's like somebody's looking back on the boat and the kids just see this shark just pulling this woman down, and we see it as the audience as she goes underwater, and that's the end of the shark for that scene.
Yeah, and the panic that spreads, and now the secrets are revealed.
Yes.
Because Michael's going to have some splaining to do about how he knew there was a great white shark out there and kept it to himself.
Yeah. So he comes home, and of course they're consoling Thea in the room. And that's when he's like, well, what did I miss? And she's like, there was a shark attack. Thea got attacked. She's in panic. She's in shock right now. But while this is going on, we didn't mention that Ellen Brody has already left on a boat.
Yeah.
At the beach at this event. Once this happens to Thea, she steals the boat.
Yeah, and that's where I forgot how quick the movie moves to the third act, because once she has the boat, I'm like, oh man, we're going into fighting the shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she is not, the moment she knows that her fears are legitimate, she's ready to face them head on.
Oh yeah.
All by herself on a boat. I believe her argument was she thought that it wanted her.
Yes.
So she was trying to get it away from everybody.
Yeah.
And then what happens.
And keep in mind, once again, she doesn't know the shark's being tracked. She doesn't know its whereabouts. She doesn't even know it's around, except for the fact that Michael kept that. So she's going again by the instinct of what we see in the movie, which is not voodoo.
Well, I mean, at the very least, it's clearly following her. And that's the thing, is even with the voodoo subplot removed, there's still a telepathic connection between the shark and Ellen Brody. And again, what a choice.
It is.
It ends up, and the fact that they were like, well, we can't leave all of those pieces out, because then it really makes no sense at all. It's pretty nuts.
Well, and she has stolen a big ship. Like, this isn't a small boat. Like, she has stolen a pretty big sailboat.
Yes.
With a mast on the front and everything. So Jake and Michael find out about this. He admits to Carla that the shark was around, and she's like pissed at him, which obviously.
Yeah.
So that's when Michael and Jake decide that they're going to go out. So they get on Jake's motorboat, and they just so happen to go past Hoagie. And he's like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "My mom stole a ship." And he's like, "Well, you're never going to make it there in that." And he's like, "Well, you have a better idea." Cut to them flying in his plane.
Yeah, and this is where the movie just really unwinds. It just lets it all happen. So they're flying over the ocean. They're talking to Hoagie. They're trying to find this plane, this boat. They don't really know where they're going.
No.
They're just looking
for the boat.
And then when they find the boat, Hoagie decides, I'll do a water landing.
Yes.
On a plane not built for water landings.
Nope.
Which does tell you how much Hoagie values her.
Yeah.
But also, how little Hoagie values his airplane.
Yes.
Because he gently skitters it on the ocean.
Yep.
And then as it comes to a stop, it starts to slowly sink.
Yeah.
And Van Peebles and Michael just jump the hell out trying to swim to the boat, and Hoagie stays at the plane.
Well, they warn him to get away from the plane because the shark will pick up on the electromagnetic of
Right.
it. So yeah, so Jake and Michael jump out into the water. We see an underwater shot of them, so we know the shark is close by, obviously, because
of course,
as the plane was coming in, Michael Caine even says, "Is that what I think it is?" Because the shark is tailing Lorraine at this point.
Right.
So yeah, they've landed in the water. They've gotten out, and Hoagie's telling them, "Oh, keep swimming. I'll be fine." The shark rises up out of the water, and we get the best line of the movie.
Oh shit!
Exactly like that.
Because it's so perfect. He doesn't. He it's not huge.
No.
He just, oh shit. It's so good. And I remember that was one of my favorite jokes they did on the movie Crypt was that they said that was the moment Michael Caine realized he was in a Jaws sequel.
So the shark latches onto the plane. We don't know what's going on with Hoagie. And we see Jake and Michael have made it onto the boat. And that's when they're down in the basement of the boat trying to figure out what they're going to do. Also, by this point, Hoagie does make it back to the boat. And that's when they decide they're going to make both another tracker that is also a bomb and then one that'll shock it as well.
Right. I mean, they're basically trying to capture the shark. And Van Peebles gives a line that I'd forgotten about that is one of the best lines.
Oh, yeah.
Because when he's explaining how it'll work, he says, sharks spend half their life looking for food and the other half eating it.
Yeah.
And I was like, so they'll eat whatever's in front of them. And I was like, that's such a great line. Half their life looking for food and the other half eating it.
Yeah.
That's good shit.
So Jake obviously has to get this bomb into the shark now, but they've turned the tracker into a shocker.
And you may be thinking, if you haven't seen Jaws the Revenge in a while, like that we're skipping over a lot of details. Nah, they're just kind of like, and it'll be a bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. They basically make that in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So he reverses the polarity to make the one shock him, and now they're making a bomb to throw into the shark to blow up the shark. So he goes out to the tip of the mast and waits for the shark to pop up, throws it in, loses his grip on the mast as the shark bites down on Jake and pulls him into the water.
Yeah, well, the shark hits the boat.
Because it breaks it. That's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So he doesn't just like whoopsie doodle.
Yeah.
He gets pulled in basically.
Yeah.
And in the theatrical version, Van Peebles gets gnawed and then he's gone.
Yeah, because we do still see the shot of him dragged underwater bloody. Because I will say the one thing with the shark attacks in this movie, even though the edits are crazy, they are pretty bloody.
Yeah, they're very bloody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the original shot of Van Peebles dying in the original ending is
insane.
Hell. I mean, basically
bloody.
see him getting bit in half.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So Van Peebles gets pulled under. That's when Michael is like, okay, we got to finish this. So he starts shocking the shark as the shark is now swim back away, but is coming back towards the boat. Also, as this is happening, Ellen starts having flashbacks of her son dying, God, what else is there? There's
Brody
the son,
saying, "Smile, you son
smile,
of a bitch."
Son of a bitch.
Yep.
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. She starts having flashbacks from the other movies, and that is when she decides the shark is coming up. They've been shocking it. The shark is also roaring at this point,
which is my favorite. It starts roaring like a lion.
Yes,
because as they're shocking, it's going like up and out of the water. It's so silly, but so fun. And I want to mention, because I mean, not that you're one of the people who heavily critiques this part, but I've always heard people critique like she's remembering things she didn't see. Well, number one. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's because they're telling us the story.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that her husband told her how he beat
that
the
one
shark.
Makes sense.
Now, the son, screaming for help and stuff, that's either
just trauma.
Well, that's either the telepathic connection.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it is. In this case specifically, I don't think it is. But more so, it's her imagining of what had happened, because she knows that he died horribly and that a shark killed him.
Yeah.
So would it be that shocking for her to have a mental image that would be relatively accurate? I mean, like, what do they want, you know?
Well, and I do also want to add, there was one thing we did skip over that I do love, which is the shot as Hoagie and the guys are landing. The shark does jump up at Ellen, and she is just barely missed by it.
Yeah. No, he's straw dogging that that boat right now, trying to get in there.
So they are coming right towards the shark. Ellen's having all these flashbacks. We cut back to Roy Schreider with "Smile, you son of a bitch." The mask gets jammed into the shark as it's shocked one final time.
Well, first the shark pulls a Jesus and stands up in the water.
Up in its
he
hind
basically
legs.
leaps right up.
Yeah.
Hind legs. It doesn't have any legs.
It doesn't.
Yet. That was going to be Jaws 5, the mutation.
That's basically the creature, is Jaws with legs.
Damn.
Yeah.
But he like leaps up. He's like out of the water. And then she rams the mast into the center.
Yep.
And for reasons, the shark just friggin' explodes.
Explodes.
And this is one of the best points to frame by frame, because when it explodes, you see about 5 different shots of miniature sharks.
Miniature shark.
That are probably made out of like fish and fake blood.
I would say clay.
I wouldn't know, because they're bloody. I mean,
they're
think
bloody.
It looked to me like it was made out of that they made it out of like salmon.
It could be.
And they're like being exploded by like firecrackers.
Yep.
If you're watching frame by frame, it is so clear that like it's just like a tiny fake shark. Boom.
Yeah.
It's really, really ridiculous.
It is. If you literally go to Google right now and type in Jaws of the Revenge ending, you will see them. They will pop up in your images.
Yeah.
Because you will be like, that can't be it. That's it.
It is fascinating. It makes me wonder, because that had to have been the studio.
Yeah.
The studio had, that whole ending was the studio anyway, because the original ending was very different.
Well, the original ending, so we'll just go ahead and say it now. The original ending is she impales the shark. The shark is just bleeding out of its mouth in every direction, and then it just sinks with the mast inside to the bottom of the water, and Jake is, of course, dead. In this version, Jake swims up from the surface. He's alive.
Just
everything,
barely.
Barely.
He's floating, basically.
Yeah. And also, we should point out that this ending was shot on the Universal lot in a tiny little pool.
I mean, tiny, big, but not huge.
Yeah. And so the water had to be dyed blue.
Yeah, and there are a few little spots, like when Michael Caine first gets on the boat, you could see his shirt is dyed blue. Lightly,
yes.
But it's dyed blue because they're trying to match the Bahamas water.
Yep, and also if you look in the back, especially towards after the shark has died, if you are looking in the back of these shots while they're in the water, you can see the water splashing against the back of the background.
And the wide shots were an odd choice because the sky is oddly not exposed very brightly.
Nope.
Because it's a painting.
Yep.
So it is, there are a few points where you really tell. And all I could think was like, why would you show any wide shots?
Yeah.
But it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. So the shark is dead. Everybody is okay for the most part at this point. And the final shot is Ellen is now flying back with Hoagie as they leave the Bahamas to go back to Amity.
Yep.
And that is 1987's Jaws: The Revenge.
The finest of the Jaws films. The amount of entertainment value is so high on this movie.
Yeah.
You can't watch it and not have a good time unless you're actively trying to have a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, it is the movie Jaws: The Revenge is a sequel to a T, and I know I say that a lot on the show, but I mean, this is exactly what you get with a sequel. You get an expansion on certain characters. If you are lucky enough, you may just get new characters, and our villains usually in a new spot or returning to the new spot with new intentions. But I mean, this is the epitome of a sequel. It's just not a very well done one.
No. I mean, well, that's the thing. Some of it is. That's the weirdest part.
Yeah.
Is I really would be curious to see a director's cut of the whole film.
Same.
Because it had to have been more seamless.
There's no deleted scenes have ever been released except for the ending, of course. There is really the only behind the scenes you can find is currently on YouTube is a making of that was a TV special that's like about a half hour, I want to say. Other than that, nothing else has been released on these editions. So you're left with the novel, which I'll get to here in a second. So what do you want to guess the budget was for Jaws: The Revenge?
It was high. It was like 23.
23.
You know what? Honestly, it was probably 20, and then the $3 million to pay for Michael Caine and what's her name?
Lorraine Gary.
Lorraine Gary. Thank you. That was probably 3 was tacked on to pay them.
So opening weekend, it makes $7 million.
Okay.
Grossing in the U.S. $20 million, and grossing worldwide $51 million.
Does that total all together?
Yeah,
everything's
altogether.
51.
Yeah.
So it was a somewhat of a hit.
Somewhat of a hit, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shot in Edgartown, Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, and the Bahamas, as well as the Universal backlot. Shot in 9 months, So from start to finish, 9 months is this production.
And they only had Hoagie for 2 weeks.
Only for 2 weeks. Mostly set in the Bahamas, the bulk of the movie was filmed on the north shore of Oahu, Hawaii, near Turtle Bay, and on northeast side of the island.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it was shot in Hawaii. Nice.
The first Universal Pictures film to be shot in Super 35 format.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Well, it did look great.
Yeah.
We watched the 4K.
4K, yeah.
And it looked really good. The first one that's what surprised me more is that's the first. Because Super 35 isn't that big of a deal necessarily. I mean, we could talk about I mean, no, it is. I mean, it's a little bit higher resolution, but it's still 35 film.
Michael Caine accepted his role after seeing only the first line of the script, which was "Fade in Hawaii." Caine had wanted to shoot a movie in Hawaii for a while. According to director Joseph Sargent, the film had gone through so many story pitches that once they were settled on the preposterous idea of the shark actually seeking revenge on the Brody family, they were just so burned out creatively that being given the go-ahead from Universal made everyone happy and excited.
That sounds right.
Everyone was aware of how ridiculous the concept was, but thought there was a fair chance of making it to the screen.
I mean, the whole fact that it's personal alone is very funny.
Producer and director Joseph Sargent briefly looked into the possibility of producing the movie in 3D and contacted the company that had supplied the cameras for Jaws 3D. However, it told Sargent that it couldn't guarantee the cameras would be reliable in the climate of the Bahamas, so the idea was scrapped.
Well, the climate of Hawaii, I guess, in reality. But good that they didn't try to do it in 3D.
God.
Why would you do it again in 3D?
No. This allegedly cost between $23 to $30 million, one of the most expensive movies of 1987.
That I believe. Yeah.
It
ballooned up really quick.
Oh, yeah. The only Jaws movie that doesn't take place in summertime, Jaws 1975, took place around 4th of July. Jaws 2 took place in June. Jaws 3 took place at some point in summertime. And this movie takes place around Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah, January, baby.
Michael Caine said, won an Oscar, built a house, and had a great holiday. Not bad for a flop movie. He was paid $1.5 million for 7 days work in the Bahamas, and the schedule was so tight that the producers were unable to spare him so he could attend the Academy Awards, and he went on to win the Best Actor in Supporting Role for Hannah and Her Sisters in 1986.
Yeah, he didn't attend his own winning.
You can find his recorded video.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The shark's infamous roar during the climax actually comes from a Tom and Jerry cartoon called The Milky Waif. Reportedly, this was actually done because the sound editor refused to make an original sound effects, thinking that the idea of the shark roaring was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The water in the tank where the climax was shot was filled with blue dye, which turned Michael Caine and Lorraine Gary's hair blue.
Well, they both were blonde, so... Well, he was gray, but yeah.
According to Joseph Sargent, the banana boat sequence was the most difficult sequence to shoot, with involvement of children and adults both seeing the shark for the first time, plus coordinating the technological logistics of the sea with the horror of the attack. Sargent was quoted as saying he felt as though the scene was like a visual ballet.
I could see that. I mean, kids, special effects, water.
Yeah.
It's a lot to manage.
Roy Schreider was offered a cameo, but declined, stating, "Satan himself could not get me to do Jaws Part 4. Reportedly, if Schreider had accepted the bit part, the shark would have killed his character at the start of the movie rather than Brody's son, Sean. The end result was Schreider in this movie through archive footage from Jaws that was inserted during some scenes.
That I could see not wanting to be the opening death.
Yeah.
Although also they were probably like, we can't give another guy $1 million. Damn it.
I guess it would depend on how the death was.
No, it would just be killing off the main character from the original movie in Part 4.
Yeah.
I mean, Scheider was at a point in his career where he didn't have to say yes.
Can you imagine, though, if he pulled the wood from the orca off the buoy and that was his demise, though?
That would have been amazing. No, that would have been so cool, though, because he could have pulled the wood and then looked at it and see orca on it and been like, dun, 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 and then, that would have been so cool.
Yep.
No, I wish he had done it.
Yeah.
But I see why he didn't.
Lorraine Gary briefly came out of retirement to reprise the role of Ellen Brody. This film stands as her final acting role to date.
Damn. And she passed away in 2019 or something.
Yeah.
So she was around for a long time.
Murray Hamilton was asked to reprise his role as the mayor in a short appearance at the beginning of the movie. However, he died of cancer before filming had started.
Damn, that would have been so many Easter eggs, man.
The NES video game Jaws, published in 1987 by LJN, was originally titled Jaws the Revenge. The object of the game was to stab the shark with the bow of the player's boat, much like the original uncut ending of this movie. I've always thought that when playing the game. It just looked exactly like it.
And they used the cover art from Jaws the Revenge, even though it just says Jaws.
Yeah. The shark's head exploding is explained when Jake throws an explosive that's powered by electrical impulses into the shark before he is grabbed by the shark and taken under the water. Then later, when the shark is impaled by the broken bowsprit in the exact spot where the bomb is, it ignites the bomb, which causes the shark to have its explosive demise. The scene of the sinking shark corpse without its head is the same shot from the end of the first movie after Martin Brody shoots the tank.
Yeah, that's something I always noticed. That's the shark dying in part 1, sinking to the bottom of the ocean.
The movie has the lowest body count of the series with a total of 3 victims, depending on which version you watch. Sean Brody, Margaret's mother on the banana boat, and Jake in the original theatrical cut of the movie. Throughout the 4 movies, there were 19 deaths shown or implied. There were 5 in Jaws, 7 in Jaws 2, 5 in Jaws 3, and 2 or 3 in this movie.
Yeah. No, there's not a lot of shark killings in this film. Not at all.
A crucial subplot involved Hoagie smuggling drugs onto the island. The scenes were shot and then deleted during post-production because it took away from the main premise involving the shark. It's fully detailed in the novelization.
Well, and it would be a lot to follow.
In the novelization, based on the original script by Hank Searles, included many scenes and subplots that were ultimately removed. Some of the excise material includes the discovery of Sean Brody by Amity Police Department, Thea being hypnotized and almost wandering into the water at night where the shark waits the death of a windsurfer, a humorous scene involving a drunken retired newscaster and the shark, a drive-by shooting where Brodies are nearly injured, and a foot pursuit.
What?
Mike's secrecy of shark tales strain on his marriage. He also retains monitoring a device in the bedroom. When Carla has her unveiling, Mike goes to a bar and he and Carla argue. She then mentions that she shut off the monitoring device, not knowing what it does, because she believed Mike needed to sleep.
Okay.
It's only then they realize Thea may be in danger on the banana boat. Deleted characters include an island gangster who befriends Ellen Brody, who is ultimately killed by the shark, Hoagie's law enforcement partner, and Papa Jacques, a voodoo doctor.
Of course. Yes.
In the novel, Papa Jacques is a local man to whom the islanders turn for advice and guidance. Mike Brody does not like him as he believes he exploits the islanders, including his assistants. After an altercation with Mike, Papa Jacques, what leads to Thea walking outside towards the water in a zombie-like trance. Several segments also take place from the shark's point of view, and it is revealed that the shark is actually a pawn and can't understand the force driving where it needs to go. Oh, wait, let me rephrase that. Papa Jacques summons the shark to do his bidding. He also has Thea's pail stolen so he can curse it. This is what leads to her walking outside.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to say, speaking of, remember I keep saying the most interesting thing about this film is the choices that were made.
Yeah.
If you were making a Jaws sequel and you just wanted to get it done and you wanted the cheap thrills, wouldn't you amp the body count way up? And instead, it ends up way down.
Yeah.
Another strange choice.
It is. No,
very
absolutely
strange
is.
choice.
The original script features a cameo for marine biologist Matt Hooper. In Hooper's scene, he calls the Brodies and is greeted on the phone by Thea, who knows him as Uncle Matt. Hooper is established as being close to Michael and Carla, who calls him my second favorite marine biologist, and he gives them his condolences about Sean's death. Hooper and Michael discuss their careers, the late Martin Brody and Hooper's once spending Christmas with the family, with Martin dressed as Santa Claus. The scene ends when Michael heads off to summon Ellen to the phone to talk to Hooper, who she had an affair with in the book.
Whoops.
The only Jaws sequel not to be enumerated, the reason being that this film is retroactively the third film. Universal was so disappointed by Jaws 3D critical and box office response that the film was now non-canonical to the third film. This is reinforced by the fact an ad that went out in newspapers saying, see the final installment of the Jaws trilogy. However, critics and audiences were less than receptive to this film, which led to this being the final film in the franchise.
Damn. I can't believe they said the trilogy. That's harsh.
That's harsh.
Damn.
And finally, this movie is listed amongst the 100 most enjoyably bad movies ever made in John Wilson's book, The Official Razzie Movie Guide.
I mean, I would have to agree. I mean, it transcends.
Oh, it does. So before we get to our final thoughts, should we check in with our buddies to see what they thought of the movie?
If by buddies you mean Siskel and Ebert.
I do.
I suppose so. We'll see what they have to say. I'm sure they loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Great White Shark attacks again in Jaws the Revenge, the fourth movie, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the theater. And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. That's one of 4 movies we'll review this week. And the question I always have is, when you see the shark at the top of the water, you only see its fin coming out. And yet when you get the shark's point of view, like we just saw,
looking at the people,
it's like its eyes are above the water, too.
It's
That's
not wrong.
a logical error among many logical errors.
Wait, like what? I'm gonna need a signed affidavit with all the list of logical errors. Come on.
You've got that right. We saw the same movie. I'm Gene Siskel of
We
the
saw the
Chicago
same movie.
Tribune. All the major players are gone from Jaws the Revenge, except Roy Scheider's wife, and her name is now just a trivia question. Ellen Brody, played by Lorraine Gary, wife of the boss of MCA Universal Pictures, which happens to make the Jaws movies. 3D failed to save the series the last time out. This time, an idiotic script sinks the whole show. The premise: Ellen Brody is a widow.
I'm shocked they didn't like it.
I know.
Has died.
Crazy.
Scheider has enough sense
This
to know
might
when to
be in
stop
his.
bilking the public.
I
And
hated
his
that
wife
movie
in the film
book.
is convinced that a
Had to
great
be.
white
Had
shark
to
has
be.
a grudge against her family. Now you could just hear those sharks talking. I'm going to get me a Brody if it's the last thing I do. I guess that's what they
Very,
say.
very realistic.
Thank
Shark
you.
talk there.
I know.
Well done.
That would have been more interesting than the movie. Anyway, here's an
Damn.
example of Ellen Brody's fear. The scene is very early in the picture, so veteran moviegoers should be able to figure it out.
Well, that's a shark doing some shark stuff.
There's no teeth or anything.
No. Well, it's for television.
Like they say on Saturday Night Live, I hate when that happens. A dream sequence. People were groaning in the theater when that happened. I mean, I want to go up and
Oh, so
punch
they're
a
just
hole
going to
in
have
the
Ellen Brody
screen.
get attacked in the
That
water.
happened. How about the next dream
Seriously.
sequence? Another It's Only a
There are quite a few dream
I know.
sequences.
That's what I was saying. They
Why did
lean
do
heavy
that
into
in the
them.
movie. If there's anything that annoys an audience, it's the dream sequence. I hate that stunt. It's old, it's cheap, it's a lousy gimmick, and I wish they would stop doing it. And then that describes a whole movie. You want to probably see what the shark looks like. They show more of it this time, and by showing more of it, actually, at the end, it sort of looks fake. As for the
Sorta
final
looks fake, huh?
confrontation,
Okay.
Michael Caine
That
plays
shot was
pilot
pretty
who
good.
joins
I love
Ellen
that
Brody
shot.
and one of her sons, the other's dead, and one of his friends, and trying to drive the shark crazy by first making it swallow an electronic beeper box. Death by noise.
It's kind of funny because Universal Studios used the banana boat attack in a lot of their ads for the park.
I mean, it was a good attack scene.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I don't know. I think Siskel and Ebert might have been hitting the sauces this time around. Because, I mean, come on. Like, it would have been, I would be so happy if one of them just loved it.
I mean, that would be great.
But that ain't happening.
This movie is so badly made that the death of the shark isn't even set up well. There's a key shot missing so that we don't even get the whole picture. We walk out of the theater very frustrated.
key shot?
And that last scene is preceded by one of the most glaring errors in recent movie history. Michael Caine has been in the water, has swum to safety onto the boat.
Oh, he's
but
dry.
In the very next scene, his shirt is as dry as if it had just been freshly laundered.
Probably because it was
Let's
blue.
hope this is the end of the Jaws series. The first film was thrilling and well acted. The rest have been trash.
It's
Wow.
not even that shot. Michael Caine actually comes over the
He
rail
hates
out of
two.
the water,
He hates two
and it's
and
totally
three.
dry. I was
know.
sitting in the theater and I said, his shirt is dry.
I know.
The preview audience.
And they were like, Roger, you
laugh.
gotta leave.
appreciated that.
His shirt is dry, and then somebody turned around and shot him dead because it's Chicago.
Popular in the movies, but I don't know. That seemed to go over pretty well.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. I
Go
may
ahead.
be
Oh.
very badly
Oh, no.
confused here. In this, I usually am. In this movie,
Yeah.
this shark wants revenge against the Brody family.
You got it.
Yes. Okay. Now, in the first movie, what happened
Should've
to
read
the
the
shark
novel.
in the first movie?
Shark
Dead.
blows up,
Blown to pieces, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened to the shark in the second movie?
I
electrocuted.
know, dead.
Yeah, right. What happened to the shark in the
They
third
all
movie?
die.
They all die. So in that case,
They're
what
family.
shark is this?
A friend of the other shark.
Is this like
Yeah, it's a
cousin,
friend of the
nephew?
family.
A next door neighbor?
You know
The
what's so
shark's
great?
godfather.
You see, by having this gimmick, that means that even though this one dies, she still is going to stay living in that stupid town instead of moving into the Middle West where she should be, away from sharks.
Wow.
So in any event, all sharks
didn't
have
like it.
revenge
Huh.
against
You
the
got
Brody
it.
I don't think
family.
they
Right,
did.
Okay, I got that. Okay, next movie.
Live in Iowa is the answer.
Live in Iowa. That's the answer.
My
I
God.
mean, I mean,
Damn.
I get where they're coming from. I couldn't imagine any critics liked it.
Oh, no.
It had to be universally panned.
I wonder. I bet I could find maybe one review, but I'm gonna have to hunt that down.
So
So
probably written by me.
it could be. So speaking of which, what are your final thoughts on Jaws: The Revenge?
I mean, I'm gonna have to be realistic. I
Mhm.
mean, because I would say it's a buy it, but most people would simply not agree.
Yes.
I think if you've never seen it, renting it is very wise.
Yeah.
I think it's beyond a stream it. I think you should rent it and watch it with friends,
Okay.
or watch it by yourself if you're not a loser, like a fucking fuddy-duddy.
I'm unfortunately going to give it a stream it.
Wow.
As much as I love Jaws: The Revenge, this is an acquired taste.
Mm.
This is an acquired taste movie. I mean, for one, it's the fourth entry in a series of a blockbuster masterpiece that started a craze, basically.
Sure.
And I mean, as we've already said on the show, I love 2. I think 2 is a lot of fun. 3, I have probably seen the most out of any of the Jaws movies, honestly, now that I think about it. And I'm good for the next 5 years, if not more, after watching it recently.
I feel bad that I haven't warmed up to it more.
Yeah.
But I really haven't.
It's just there's not a lot there.
Yeah.
There's really not. And then Jaws the Revenge is just a hodgepodge of choices. I mean, and it's fun. But I mean, it is definitely an acquired taste film. So it's a stream it for me, but I have to say that if you haven't seen it, give it a watch.
I mean, to me, Jaws 1 is like a steak dinner with a baked potato and some green beans. Jaws 2 is like a deep dish pizza.
I was thinking steak sandwich.
Oh, steak. It's like a deep dish pizza. It's pretty good, but you get it quick and it's cheap. Jaws 3 is like a Costco cheeseburger.
Fork sandwich.
I'll kill you. I'll kill you and I won't even regret it. I'll kill you and then I'll walk right into the police station while I'm talking to your parents on the phone. And then Jaws 4 is like a peanut butter and banana sandwich fried in bacon fat. Like it's like, look, this is wild. It's not good for you, but you're going to be surprised how tasty it can be.
You're going to like it.
But you got to give it a chance.
Yeah.
You got to take 2 bites.
Yeah.
Minimum.
I mean, could you say that it is a good movie? Debatable. Is it?
No, you could say it. I could say anything.
Yeah, you
but
could.
I stand by. It's not that it's the best Jaws movie. It's that it's the most entertaining. Jaws movie. I will never watch Jaws 1 as many times as I've watched Jaws the Revenge for the sheer joy of Jaws the Revenge.
I'm genuinely curious. Is it the shortest of them?
I have no idea.
Because I know 2 is like over 2 hours. 2 is right at 2 hours. 3 is 99 minutes. This is the shortest Jaws film. Jaws the Revenge is the shortest Jaws film.
I mean, I believe it. They cut all the voodoo out.
They cut
the drive-by shooting out.
Can't wait to read that novel now.
Man, yeah, I'm curious as hell.
Oh, yeah. I'll give you a full report. I'll probably even bring it to the show. So we always like to end the show with a couple of recommendations. First one I got this week is continuing into the Jaws infamy. We're going to go with Jaws 5, a.k.a. Cruel Jaws.
Jaws. Dick Brain. That movie is a fever dream.
From 1995, currently available on Fossum, Plex, Pluto, and Tubi. It says a huge shark terrorizes a beach in Florida, and the locals try everything to kill it.
Oh, they try everything, including like 3 tons of dynamite.
That's Deep Blood.
Oh, that's Deep Blood. Yeah. They're the same movie in my brain.
I mean, both of them borrow footage. Actually, Cruel Jaws has footage stolen from Deep Blood, Last Shark, and Jaws 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, yes.
Stolen.
Shameless.
Not borrowed.
Shameless.
Stolen.
Yeah, stolen.
So you get that on, like I said, Fossum, Plex, Pluto, and Tubi. The second recommendation I'm going to go with is 2004's 12 Days of Terror, an Animal Planet original movie. Currently available in its entirety on YouTube. You can also rent it via Amazon. For 12 days in July of 1916, a shark patrolled the waterways of northern New Jersey. This docudrama is based on Richard Fernicola's account of those days.
It's really good.
It's a solid flick.
Yeah, it's a solid one.
Yeah, basically the true story of Jaws.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation, sir?
Well, there are many wonderful ripoffs of Jaws.
Yes.
And I decided to pick, I have my top 2.
Okay.
I'm not going to give both because one of them is Grizzly.
Okay.
I think Grizzly is one of the best Jaws ripoffs ever, and it's about a grizzly bear.
Absolutely.
But number 2 in my eyes has always been 1977's Orca.
I was wondering.
And Orca is a lot of fun. It's about a killer whale, a killer whale.
Yes.
And I remember this one scaring the hell out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah, it's got some great scenes.
Oh yeah, it's very scary. It becomes personal. The tag or the synopsis on IMDb is a fisherman and his crew are targeted by a killer whale seeking vengeance for the death of its mate. And it is a silly, fun time. It's available to rent on Amazon Prime. It's not currently streaming anywhere free with ads, but that is totally worth a rent if you've never seen Orca.
Yeah.
They play it deadpan. They play it serious.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it works while being ridiculous. It also manages to be decently scary and suspenseful at the same time.
Killer whales are terrifying. If you haven't seen the documentary Blackfish, cannot recommend that documentary enough because, my God, that
why are you trying to actually scare our audience?
Because
that movie,
because orcas are terrifying.
They are. But the way they were treated is not great either.
Not great either. Yeah, but yeah, no, Orca is a great recommendation.
Don't you want to just pet its big flat tongue? Stick your hand in its mouth, pet its tongue.
I've been wanting to
Free
revisit
Willy,
Free
Dave.
Willy.
Free Willy.
I've been wanting to revisit that movie, but honestly,
Free Willy holds up great.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
It's actually a really solid film. And it's Dwight Little directed.
That's true.
That one.
Yes.
So director of Halloween 4.
Yes, he is. Do we have any emails this week?
Last I checked, we had one. So let's see if that's still true. If that's still true.
Still true.
They took it away. No, if you guys want to get a hold of us, by the way, you can do so by sending us an email at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com or going
correct.
to doyouevenmovie.com for all the information you could ever hope to have. This one's from our good buddy, the guy, the reason for the program, Patrick.
Oh, Patrick, awesome.
Yeah. Subject says, "Hi guys. I was wondering what you think about covering Tropic Thunder. I know it's controversial, or maybe Happy Gilmore. Thanks for the entertainment, guys. Patrick."
Possibilities of both. I think
Tropic Thunder is one. It makes no sense that it's aged so well.
Yeah.
But it's just it's funnier.
Yeah.
Now
No, it absolutely
than
is.
it was then,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Every
Yeah.
time I've revisited it, I'm always like, God, that's a funny, great film.
We revisited what, like a year ago? And yeah, it still holds up. Happy Gilmore, I don't dislike Happy Gilmore. I've been a big fan of that one. I don't know. I don't know if I would do an episode on it or not.
I have more nostalgia for Billy Madison.
Billy Madison, same.
So if I was going to talk about one of those, it would probably be that one.
Yeah.
But I'm not like crazy about those movies.
No.
But Billy Madison is just the one that was always on
Yeah.
when I was growing up, much more than Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. One had Happy Gilmore has the sequel coming out now too.
Oh
so,
yeah. Yeah, it does.
But yeah, we those are definitely possibilities, Patrick. So we will entertain those for sure.
Tropic Thunder, I would not be shocked if we ended up doing,
I'd be down with
as
that.
long as Dave is willing to wear blackface.
No, that's not happening.
What if
No matter what you say, no, it's not happening. But would you like to know?
So we'll use CGI. Got
would
it.
you like to know what we are talking about next week on the show as we continue Life's a Beach Month?
Well, I can only assume we're going to do Jaws the Revenge again.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
All right.
That's
cool.
basically the show.
Thank
from this
you
point.
guys so much for joining us.
No, we are going to be taking a step back to 1979 for a movie I bet not many of our listeners have seen, let alone have heard of, called Malibu High, currently available on Fossum, Plex, and Tubi. And all I can say is if you haven't seen Malibu High, first off, it's available very easily right now with those 3 apps, but also you definitely want to watch this movie before we talk about it. I don't want to spoil this movie for you, but I absolutely will.
This is the weirdest. It's really fun.
Yeah.
It's so far out there.
So far
I was
out.
honestly thrilled but confused you chose it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, it's a harsh one.
It's a harsh one.
It's a harsh flick.
It's a harsh one. No, it's
but it is really fun and
it is
strange.
sleazy. It gives you the premise that it's going to be a TNA comedy, and it's not.
No.
It has touches.
Maybe if you have a good head injury that's recent.
That might be, yeah. But I mean, this movie is one you're not ready for, and we're going to talk about it all next week on the show.
Oh, yes. So make sure you're subscribed, whether it's on your favorite podcasting app, or if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And remember, you can email us at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. We're always excited to hear from you guys, whether it's to recommend a movie, to comment on a film we've talked about, to praise my coverage of Jaws the Revenge. And talk about how finally someone is brave enough to speak the truth.
Genuinely cannot wait for these shorts to hit YouTube to see what people are going to say about Jaws the Revenge.
I mean, bring all the hate you want. I don't care because it's the best.
Yeah.
It's so good. I have no problem saying it's more entertaining than Jaws. So
you have and you will continue.
I will forever say that.
Yes, you will.
Well, with all that being said, I guess all that's left to do is say thank you guys so much for watching us, listening to us.
Yes.
We do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with Malibu High.
Yes, we will.
Oh boy, howdy. So I guess all that's left to say now is see you
next.
You son of a bitch.
Oh, I was going to say this sounds personal, but okay.
Oh, it would make more sense, but we cut out the voodoo subplot.
Fair.
The ending doesn't really work as well as it would have.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.